Hey guys, it's Friday. Not that that means anything. Not like we can go do anything for the weekend. I see you guys popping on when you get on. Say hello. Hi, Jean McIntyre. It's so awesome to see some familiar names around here. JJ's getting camera ready for you guys. Can I let you know how to find a live web on JJ's website? If you're meaning on the YouTube, because that's the only thing that we have gone live on, you'll just have to go and whenever you subscribe, it should pop up as a notification that JJ went live. Hey, everyone. I saw your email, Jean, so we will address that today. It's so awesome to see all of you guys. I hope that you are having a good day. Yes, happy Good Friday. Easter Bunny is coming. And I hope you guys are all having good weather too. Diana Beck, Allegro Tax Service. It's so awesome to see all of these familiar names and that you guys have been on with us every single day this week. JJ is getting camera ready, so he'll be here in just a second. Michael Self, that's a really good question. I guess we will find out today if any more people got funded. What have we had? I think 5 people the past couple of days, a total, have said that they have got approved, but none of them have been funded. So, oh, I hate that you have a client meeting at 3. I hate that too. Hey, Clay, there's Clay. Yes, Frederick, I did see your email this morning, and JJ will be addressing emails. No funding yet. I know. I hate this for you guys. I hate it for myself too. I mean, I'm right there with you. So, we will be addressing emails first. I think that was how he wanted to do it. So we'll address emails that were sent, and then we will go over, because we did get to hit some of yesterday's questions yesterday live. So I'll go back to the very beginning and get any that we missed, and then we'll start answering more questions and see where it goes. And I have got the emails from you guys who wanted t-shirts, and we are working on that. It will probably be next week before we get those out to you guys, just because they're at the office and we are clearly not. So I'm going to have to go up there this weekend and get things ready. Oh, it's over there. It's hiding behind my computer, but my Diet Mountain Dew is over there. If anybody ever took that from me, I would have to go to rehab. I'm a Diet Mountain Dew addict. All of my natural awesomeness comes from aspartame, apparently. Have you guys gotten any sleep? Yeah, we have. Not a whole lot. I've actually got more than JJ. I can't run on his energy. Clearly, that's why I'm addicted to Diet Mountain Dew. But he was up really late until the morning this morning, getting lots of new videos out there. So I hope that you guys have went and checked them out. Make sure that if you were here, that you were hitting subscribe and you're giving thumbs up. That would be awesome. It's awesome that we're already at 90 people on. So Frederick Lowe, I volunteer to be JJ's campaign manager for president. All right. Well, whenever that time happens, I will be calling you. Yeah, Mountain Dew's it's been my drink for years. Diet Mountain Dew. None of your clients have been funded yet in from Daniel in New Jersey. Yeah, it's frustrating. I don't believe that any of JJ's clients have been funded either. So I think I hear him coming. He's left me in front of the camera way too long. I work from behind the camera, not in front of it. So here's the guy you guys have been waiting for.
All right. Well, today I'm wearing my Captain America shirt because it's Friday. When I go out on the weekends, I've got this jacket, and I thought, it's gonna go better. So I'm trying to be a Friday afternoon, JJ, the CPA. Thanks for joining me. Here in about 15 minutes, I'm going to tell you about something special I'm doing. And I don't mean like, oh, I got a funnel and now you can buy this and send me this and then you can do this, because that's not what this is about in any way, shape, or form. I'm so absolutely honored at the outpouring, and I appreciate all the subscriptions to the YouTube channel. It's been fun, in essence, to see that what I've been helping with clients all these years is now helping other people. We're going to ask here in a little bit, so if you want to start answering this, but who here has gotten some PPP money? Who here has gotten some EIDL money? I've heard that we've gotten some that's come into play, or do you have any clients? So hopefully, I appreciate that, Poco, Robert H. Hopefully, we're going to start seeing some relief. I put together a series of videos last night, kind of in anticipation of money coming. Also based on having you all come onto the live show, I guess is all that you could call it. What do you think, Amanda?
Yep. Show.
I shot some videos specific to the Uber industry, Uber and Lyft, the farming and ranching, real estate. Shot another one related to the self-employed. So I really do appreciate everybody being on here. And the special announcement I'm going to make is something that Amanda and I, Amanda runs everything social media, but Amanda she's my soulmate. Okay, this is my girlfriend. She's my number one, my partner in everything we do. So anyways, but Amanda and I came up with an idea. I'm going to tell you about it in 15 minutes. And the reason 15 minutes is I got to load up a video. But anyways, we've been working and thinking about this since we were on tour that we had kicked off, and we were in Utah. And we were in Park City, and we actually shot some videos related to it, and got put on the back burner. But this might be a good time to do what it is that we had planning on doing, which is a way to kind of take this to the next level. No fees, no cost, make no money, none of that crap. I'm not trying to do that, especially not in these times. But anyway, so we've got some people that had emailed yesterday, so we're going to go through the email questions first. And then I will tell you this, specific to this that we're so honored to be a part of. You will start seeing it. I really wanted to avoid anything that would lead anybody to assume that I'm doing any of this to specifically make money off of those that are paying attention. This is a time of crisis, a time of need, and I have some information that I can share, and I'm loving it that I can do that. So from my perspective, we want to release that we now have an email to go along with that website. And so it's jj@jjthecpahelp.com. If you ever email it, I will guarantee you will not get emails back selling one thing. This would be where you can now submit questions, and that way they'll be more concise, and we'll be able to pick up on those easier and quicker versus mixing into another email group, and that'll allow us to also maintain it. So I promise you, if you email it, because I don't need you to email it, but if you email jj@jjthecpahelp.com, when we go live Monday, we will then be doing questions from the emails that we get as well. okay, because there might be a more careful way that you can ask questions. So it'll be a way to submit questions. Continue to submit them now. So anyways, we got Gene McIntyre back, Frederick back. Frederick, I hopefully you didn't have any more nightmares, if I'm remembering correctly. Can you let us know how to find live feed on JJ's website? Oh, you know, we hadn't even thought that. Live feed on JJ's website.
I already told them that they just need to get the notifications that you go live here.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Daniel, Frederick, happy. Oh yes, happy. Helen, I'm gonna let you guys know that I don't know if we'll have very many people come on Saturday, but we're gonna go live Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern. I'm sorry, 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. And what we're gonna invite first are anyone that's in the Uber, Lyft, taxi, hair, nail salon special edition. Okay, and all that means is that let your friends know if they're Uber or Lyft or taxi or delivery type service, right? Uber Eats, or those that are in the nail industry, the hair industry, the salon industry. And all I'm saying is we'll be ready for those specific questions. Okay. And then on Sunday, okay, we're going to do a special edition or a theme that will be at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. I get it's Easter, but everybody's home. I'm sure we'll be done finding eggs by 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. But anyways, for the real estate, because most real estate professionals, what are they doing Sunday afternoon? They're doing an open house. So we're going to do specific to the real estate industry. And then we'll be back Monday live at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. But then we'll just see where we're at. We might have gotten over the hump. We might have been able to help everybody that needs to get helped. It may not be really a need to go live after that. So we'll kind of see what the response is for Saturday and Sunday special group there, because we've had a lot of need, and those are a lot of individuals that have needed help. Our theme today is the small business, the sole proprietor. Today is the first day that the banks are opening up and they're doing anything potentially, but I've heard one person that's gotten it through. I've got a bank that says they'll do them, but then when they went to go enter in the info to the SBA wasn't able to take it yet. So Monday we'll have follow-up, and then we'll just see where we're at. Yesterday we had a huge response. I know it's Friday, right? Okay. We had a huge response, and now it's Friday afternoon. We'll see. But thank you so much for coming. I shot a quick video that'll go along with what I'm getting ready to share with you all first. And just like anything else, sometimes you got to be quick. And this video is called The Show. And it's going to be something I'm going to put on my website here shortly, and then I'll tell you all about it. And I think it'll be fun. And it's kind of taking this to the next level. So anyways, we got Guy and Luis and TMJ, Tim Roof, Daniel. Yes, Frederick, Helen, Gene, bank responded, still asking for payroll documents. Wow. Okay. So we'll get to that. Jill Jones, hi. Sung, let's see. Nuan, Lily, Brian, hey, what's up? Ruwan, let's see. I think Deepa Patel, thanks for all the info this week. Yes, thank you for being on again. Diane Beck, thank you so much for being on. Tax services. If you are in Diana Beck's area, Allegro, you need to hire this person, because anybody that's trying to get other information from other professionals, because I do the same thing, is a true professional. He's just trying to gather up information, and I do the same. Michael Self, Carlos, Sung. All right, every day. I hate that I have a client meeting at 3. Clay says, Amanda. Oh, got it. All right, so Kitty and Lily and Guy, still haven't heard back from Fifth Third on the PPP sole proprietor. Are we at risk at not having funds available? I don't think yet. I think funds might be at risk when we hit this point next week. We'll see. I think we're going to end this week with probably about 150 billion. which means we're not even to the halfway point. Happy Good Friday, Neil. Thank you. Let's see, number of employees, how to calculate the number on the app. I'll just tell you this, they did clarify, and they said basically you go with your head count around February 15th, whatever makes sense around February 15th. Jim Westerman, howdy. Michael, Michael Self, Michael Romeo, Danielle, does JJ run his practice out of his house? Because of the coronavirus, the answer is now I do. But I have my own building, and I overlook a lake, which is beautiful and unusual in Oklahoma. So I can't wait at some point, if you all are still interested, when we're back and working in our offices, for you to see that as well. So I'm working out of the house. Let's see, don't see the Mountain Dew on the desk. Are you ready? That dark water, Mags, and let's see, Kitty. Let's see, they'll have, then I'll wait here patiently. Okay, Wayne, Jill, Kendra, let's see, J and K, welcome back. Lots of people, Jason Ray, Timothy White, JJ the CPA movie coming soon. I love it, Clay. And then did we find out, is Clay, is he a CPA? Is he a tax preparer? Clay's like on it. Kendra, Timothy White, Jason, boy, now just skipped a whole bunch. All right, so listen, we are going to jump in with some questions. And let's see, JJ sent to PPP as general partner with Gross. Bank said not net. Interesting. Okay. So Chad Robert, if you're on, was that on the K1 that it was the gross, or is it line one of your partnership? And then let's see. All right, I think we've got everybody here. Carol, everything underfoot. All right, so what is, from our emails, where are we at? Email questions.
Well, Jean McIntyre sent her email, and she just wanted to let you know that this was her response from Chase, and this is everything. Says, thank you for your application for credit through Paycheck Protection Program. We've reviewed your application and need additional documentation in order to support the loan amount you requested. Example of supporting payroll documentation include, but are not limited to, 2019 W-3, 2019 IRS quarterly 940, 941, or 944 payroll taxes, third-party payroll processor summary documents, company prepared payroll summary documents, 2019 company prepared financial statements, 2019 business tax return, and 2019 personal tax return.
Oh, wow. So they want all those things? So, you know, I've got a checklist on my website, jjthecpahelp.com. You get all the information for free. There's nowhere on there to provide anything to me. But anyways, I've got a checklist, and, you know, the checklist that I have in there is what the actual SBA wants the banks to gather up to the decision. Is it, in essence, reasonable? Okay. Steve D, thanks for coming on. Juan, Cool Desert. Let's see, Martin and Cody and Chad, RJ, Nancy. But the banks have, and we've talked about it, are requesting these other documents, but here's why they're requesting it. And there's actually nothing we really can do. I think they're going to get their hands slapped by the government, meaning senators and congressmen and whatnot, but it'll just be on the Sunday morning talk show. Nothing really that will come into play. But the reason is that I think where there was a mistake made is that in the law that came out, the CARES Act, it indicated that the 4% rate would apply to any loans that weren't forgiven, which in essence, if you will, gives the bank incentive to go, okay, so we're going to get 5% up front, doesn't cost us a dime. But if they do 100K, thank you, Philip. If they do 100K amount on the PPP, okay, let's see, my picture is pixeled. Could it be that your Wi-Fi are not hardwired? So is it pixeled with everybody else?
No, you're hardwired.
I'm hardwired, but are you seeing it? Am I pixeled? I look okay? Okay. But the banks are now in a situation where they don't have as much incentive to, that I'm pixeled? Okay. Do you think that that's working? Can you all hear me okay? Yes, pixels. Someone says, who cares? We just want the information. Let's go. It's just a CPA. Yeah, we're hardwired in. Okay. All right. Well, I don't guess we're going to be pixeled or we have to start over.
I just want to close down some more stuff.
Okay, hit don't save. So if you can hear me okay, I'll keep going. Oh, it's my jacket. They said it's my jacket. No biggie with the picks, boss. Okay, well, I'll change jackets in a minute. So with the banks, they don't have as much incentive because what they're realizing is they're probably going to, on average, have to carry 25% of these loans. If you just kind of run an average of how much will be able to be forgiven versus what's not forgiven, you just start running averages. And I understand when you get the money, 75% is for payroll, 25% can be for the other items. But when you start running like, okay, well, people get let go or they don't have as much payroll or they needed to pay other expenses that weren't covered, or maybe they don't have enough rent and blah, 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 blah. Okay. So the banks are now running numbers. And so like when you take a Wells Fargo and they're going to do 30 billion, you know, they're looking at, okay, well, take 25% of that. And we're going to end up with these loans when this is all said and done. And at first you think, well, that's great. You know, that's great. Who cares? From our perspective, but from a bank's perspective, they have to keep reserves on hand to cover loans regardless of what the interest rate is. They have to keep the same amount. So if they have, you know, 10 million out in loans, whether that loan's at a 5% or a 1%, they got to keep the same amount of reserves. So then you have banks that are having to keep reserves on hand for now what's 1% loans. They went from 4 to 0.5% and then landed on 1%. So that's now caused the banks to not want to have to carry those loan amounts. So when you're looking at then the smaller loan amount, right? So, you know, I've got clients doing, you know, sole proprietor, and the amount that they're going to get ready to get on a PPP is $5,000. That's a lot of money, that sole proprietor. Okay. That's not a lot of money to the bank. And now they're going to have a lot of these little loans and maybe they don't get all forgiven. Now you got to carry all these little loans, but they got to do the same amount of paperwork, same amount of reserves and all that good stuff. So I think that, I hate to say it this way, but they should have just left it at 4%. That's what it was initially. They should have left the loans at 4% that weren't forgiven. And then the banks would have a little more incentive on the backside to not worry about these things that are not getting forgiven. So I understand that some are saying, hey, it doesn't matter. It sounds great on the pixel, but then the pixels might get it to where you don't want to watch it anymore. So is it just my jacket?
Pretty much.
Okay. So read the next question.
This is from George Sablano. Hi, JJ. I wrote you yesterday in regards to S-Corp. You answered this question. An hour later, my CPA contacted me and spoke with me about applying for a PPP loan. He advised the S-Corp for 2019 to bring my income taxes down. Can you use your 28 taxes? Should I go just a monthly income ratio for 2019?
Okay, so for that, that is going to really be up to your bank. I understand what the we'll have to see if you can find another jacket. So this is my tour T-shirt that Amanda created. This was back last fall. JJ, the CPA. You've never met a CPA quite like me. We've got some emails from those that asked for the shirts. I think we now have about 3 left. So we'll let, if she can find them, we'll let you know. But here's what I know, okay? Unless you have a bank that is going to ignore what the rules and regulations are is that none of this at all can be based on 18. Possibly it can be based off of a draft tax return or draft P&L. Draft just being, for us, a draft would be, well, we're just waiting on that one more credit card statement, or it's just not fully reconciled, but the information is basically in there, or we're deciding on depreciation, et cetera, et cetera. So not to question your CPA, but it isn't really what the CPA says you can and cannot do. It would be what the bank says you can do on that. But I'm telling you right now, the bank should not be accepting anything related to 18. I had talked to a bank earlier this week and then this morning for clients that have not gotten their returns done for 19. And they said, well, there's nothing we can do. We cannot review or accept anything related to 2018. Now, they should be able to accept a P&L because there is nothing requiring them to have a tax return in the code. So if you can come up with a draft P&L, so to speak, or something that's going to represent it, whatever your CPA has on hand now. But at the end of the day, get with your bank and see what it is that they're wanting you to put together, because that's really where the rubber meets the road. The CPA is probably just trying to be helpful. CPA firms are closed down. That's just why I've been at home. Sunday, it'll be 28 days. And so at the end of the day, you need to give them something, but it's got to be related to 19 or the last 12 months. And then, yes, for Juan, are we answering questions from yesterday? The answer is yes. There were some that emailed questions, and so we're going through those questions first. So let me go to the next question here, which is if we're in a situation where, whoops. All right, PPP question. Wait for it to load. Thank you.
You need another question?
Yeah, I do. I was trying to pull it up.
Okay.
Hey, the good news is it's a free show.
All right. Next question is from Rashikar. JJ, I hope you're doing well. I have been following you up on YouTube. Firstly,
Thank you.
appreciate the effort you're putting in people to understand the loan program. I'm looking out for a PPP loan and wanted to check if you can help me on this. I am based out of here in Seattle. My company is an S-Corp and have an account with Chase Bank. I did fill out the application on Monday, but didn't hear back from them. Just wanted to see if I can reach out to other banks. Please let me know.
Well, hey, thanks for tuning in, and especially from my. That's where I grew up. Was actually in the Seattle area, and so great to hear from a fellow Washingtonian. But in that regard, when you're dealing with the S-Corp, the net income is not self-employment income, and it's not considered on box one anything other than investment income. So from my perspective, I don't know that what will count in an S-Corp will be anything more than what your wages are. So if you've got the wages and you've put those in, it should go through with flying colors. If all you have is the net income from the S-Corp or the distributions, that won't count. To your question of should you look at other banks, if and you haven't heard anything, by Monday, if you go to, I've handed out a couple of different times, we'll reply in the email, but if you go to the SBA.gov and you go through and you find the info about PPP and you click, they have a section and it says find a lender. So you might click on that and then find a lender. If you're already in the system though with Chase, I would hope you through. I think Chase probably is still working through their efficiencies. So long story short is if you don't hear by Monday, I'd start kicking other tires, but you might also really kind of deep dive to see who it is that you can get a hold of at Chase. And if you hit a dead end, go to somebody else. If you hit a dead end, go to somebody else.
All right, this is from Jason at Darkwater Meds. And JJ, thank you so much for the help you're providing for small businesses like mine. Below is a question for your YouTube Live. If an S-Corp has a single owner employee, can the business utilize the employee retention credit via 7200? Waiting on approval of PPP loan, but it looks like gross revenue is going to be down at least 50% for a good portion of 2020 compared to 2019. If that S-Corp with one employee can take advantage of this credit and the max is 10,000 in payroll or 5,000 credit, is that amount 10,000, 5,000 limit per employee, the limit for the month, quarter, per year?
Yeah, great question. And I'm glad that we have the help, not only from the PPP, but then these credits. So real quick for everybody, since this is the first time we're hitting on the employee retention credit in today's live presentation show, is it came out of the CARES Act. If you are under a circumstance where the government has indicated that you need to shut down partial or full, or you have employees that are unable to work because of the coronavirus situation, meaning they don't have the coronavirus, they don't have symptoms of it, they're not under quarantine, they don't have somebody that's under 18. So you have employees that are out, but they don't qualify for anything related to those other credits that came out of the Family First Coronavirus Relief Act, which was all based on a daily rate, a max, all that kind of good stuff. But with the 7,200, okay, just real quick, that you file those for any of these credits, okay? But now specific to the employee retention credit, it is 10,000 per employee per year, and that's wages after March 12th through and on, including 12/31/20. And basically for the era of March, if you will, that's all obviously first quarter. What the IRS, when you read the instructions, is if you're going to put a 7,200 in, you put it in for first quarter, assuming you haven't taken tax credits, but there's no way you could have because it didn't even exist. This is retroactive. But you put in the 7,200, it's line one that you would put in the employee retention credit. You cannot take the other credits in March because those other credits, the sick leave and the Family Leave Act, are not effective until April 1 and after. So when you put in the form 7200, go to irs.gov, you'll find it. It's literally like putting a card in an ATM machine, because there's no calculation that goes along with it. And on line one, you're just putting that credit. So whatever you paid your employees for that era times 50%, meaning in March, times 50%, that is your tax credit. If you're under 50 employees and the employees are at home, it's okay if they're working, you still qualify for the credit. If you have over 50 employees, then the employee has to be at home not working, okay? So if your business is partially shut down, you're going to qualify for this. And then when you're now tracking the wages, to be clear, it's 10,000 of wages, which I think you absolutely follow because you indicated it's 5,000. Now, the reason I think that they put this other provision in there, the other way to qualify, is that they're anticipating that you are going to be in a situation where, but they're not billing, they're not doing procedures, as an example, right? And so their numbers are going to be down, but later. So if your numbers are less than 50%, okay, or you've had a more than 50% drop in your gross in the same time period. So the way I'm reading the instructions, it would be a month compared to the prior month in the prior year. So July of 20 compared to July of 19. I'm sure that there's going to be some more clarifications related to any and all that to help ensure that there's not a way that somehow the numbers are being manipulated, so to speak. But then when you're into that specific era, it doesn't matter if you're open or not or closed. It's then based on the revenue. So it could be that you're already in that in March, but it's more likely you're going to be that after. And another way of partly answering the question is it's all the same credit. So it's all a $10,000 limit per employee for the entire year. And then what's key here, though, is it does specifically state, and that's why there's been a little confusion on this, it does specifically state that you cannot take the credit if you're taking PPP. Now, the what some people have jumped to the conclusion on, and I've done a couple of videos on this, is, oh, well, if you take PPP money, you can't take the credit, like ever. Okay. No, what the rule in the law is, as it's specific in the law, the CARES Act, is while you're spending the government's money, while you're spending the PPP money, you're not able to then be using that money to also gain tax credits, because in essence, it's not your money. So that's what that's talking about. So you're going to have a window of, while you're using up your PPP money, and that 8-week window where you're not going to be able to take the credits. So that's why I think it'll run that way. Now, if you have the credits, the sick leave, the family medical leave, as well as the employee retention credits, April 1st, you can take those credits up until the day before you get your PPP money. Because the day you get your PPP money, that is the day that your 8 weeks start. So from April 1st through that date, you're going to be able to get credits. You do not send in a 7,200 with that information that includes the 7,200 information from first quarter. Let me say that another way. You're going to send in a 7,200 that only includes information from first quarter. Boom. When you get your check, my recommendation is you then put in the next 7,200, okay, that would cover April 1st through the first day, or the day before you get your PPP money. Or you reduce down what it is you're paying to the IRS for payroll taxes. Doesn't matter if it's the withholding, Social Security, Medicare match, or withheld. You reduce down those deposits, so to speak. That is how you're actually supposed to get that immediate credit. But if you've missed the window for that, which we all missed the window for first quarter because we didn't even know about it, okay, then you're doing that 7,200. So the 7,200 is more of a, oh, shoot, I forgot to take the credit, or I didn't know. How do I get that credit? You do the 7,200. Or you have credits that exceed the amount of the tax that you're paying into the IRS. Well, you reduce down what you're paying to the IRS on employment tax credits, and then the additional amount that you need to cover the payroll that you just covered, you put in a 7,200. You fax it in. There's a line item for each credit, and it doesn't indicate how they send it to you, so we just wouldn't be able to assume that they're going to send it to you as a check.
All right, our next question.
Go ahead.
Next question is from Joseph Nigel. I saw your video on Uber for PPP and EIDL trying to figure out my Schedule C. Problem 1, I applied for the EIDL and I put the wrong expenses. I know you said I should just apply for PPP first, so should I call SBA to cancel that and then apply for the PPP?
Great question, and thanks for checking out the video. When you're putting together your Schedule C, hopefully you saw there was a second video that gave you some information on kind of what to write off, how to go about it. There's really no way to contact the SBA on this. I mean, they're not even feeding back. Sean Goodman's on. What's up, Sean? My man, our great CPA friend from the Tri-City area, practices with his dad. They are the Goodman CPA group. So, and we've done a couple of shows together. So check that out on the YouTube channel there. But for the Uber, okay, the question specifically for you. So if anybody put in the request for the EIDL, you know what? It might be that you don't even get it, because if you haven't heard anything back, rumor has it, and I feel like I have it on good authority, even though I've not read about it anywhere, that they unfortunately lost all the applications for a specific period of time. And so what I'm telling people is, I mean, if it's been more than 2 weeks, then you should probably reapply or go for the PPP. Or if you're trying to figure out just in your circumstances, well, should I call because I want to do the PPP? At this point, let the government hand you the chips. And if you applied for it, there's nothing you can do on your PPP. Get that application in, do the PPP. And then I will tell you this, here's how the Band-Aid works. Okay, here's how the Band-Aid works. Here comes your EIDL money, which really under the new standard might be $1,000, okay? Because the Massachusetts SBA put on a bulletin that basically this is now going to be determined by $1,000 per employee. If you have 10 employees, you get 10 grand. Seems like there's no other consideration. All to say, you have PPP money, right? Now all of a sudden some EIDL money arrives right out of the sky. Hold on to it. Don't spend it until you are done spending the PPP money. Because if you can show that you didn't spend it at the same time, you would still have to be an economic injury to be able to, in essence, qualify for that. But really what's going on here is you can't you can't benefit from both things at the same time. So if you can show that you worked it, so chances are you're going to get nothing from EIDL. I hate to say it if you haven't heard anything. Get your PPP, use up those dollars, and then reapply for EIDL. And then you should be able to, by the time we hit that time period, unfortunately, if we're still in these circumstances, you'll be able to get some federal unemployment. Although I did have somebody say, hey, have you heard anything new on the unemployment? And so I'm going to roll that in as we're talking about on this with the with our Uber driver here, is that some states, the answer is yes. And I know in Oklahoma, it is no. So if the states have somehow flipped the switch where they're now able to add on the benefits, but I do know there's other states that I'm hearing that they're getting state benefits and the federal unemployment benefits. But the reason I even bring that up is really, if you hadn't done anything yet, here's your course of action: PPP, EIDL, and then your federal unemployment. A couple of reasons why too. Your PPP, forgivable, not taxable if you use it for the purposes it's intended for. Secondly, EIDL, if we're in a situation, what do we got?
No, just
okay.
ignore me.
On the EIDL, if we're getting that money, you don't have to pay that back, okay? And then when we're looking at the unemployment, that's taxable to you. So pick your tax-free things first, as long as you're using it appropriately. Okay, so
that's his second one, and it's just there's too many numbers to read that out loud.
Okay. All right, so if you send an email, we're reading those, but here's the new email address, and I promise you, okay, I'm a CPA. Some say I'm more trusted, our profession, than the clergy. I wouldn't go that far, but it is proven we're the second most trusted profession in the world. So you can trust me when I tell you, if you email me at this other email address, you're not going to get any junk back. I'm not going to sell you anything. I'm not going to tell you about secrets that you could buy. But JJ at jjthecpahelp.com is where we want to try and funnel questions related to this, and that we'll put on air. All right, so we're going to go through. We got Joseph. Nigel, yeah.
That's the second question, but there's just too many. While he's reading that, and for everybody that's here, make sure you're hitting the thumbs up. Make sure that you have subscribed. Tomorrow at 4 p.m. Central Time, we'll be going live to answer service industry questions and Uber and Lyft drivers. And then Sunday, yes, on Easter, from 2 to 4 p.m. Central Time, we will be having a JJ the CPA open house with all of the real estate people out there. So make sure you're tuned in on those days.
Yeah, we look forward to that. And then when you email now, again, JJ at jjthecpahelp.com. Oh, you put it in the comments too. Okay. All right. So let me look here. Okay. So let me read the question. Excuse me. Let me read the question that we've got. What happened to it? Okay. What is legal in terms of measuring gross for the max on the PPP? So let me first say, anybody that I've been working with, they're not going by the gross unless you're an independent contractor and all you have is 1099s and you don't have any expenses. Oh, Curtis, my barber. I haven't seen him in a long time. I haven't seen my barber in a long time. But anyways, on what's legal, well, this is just, here's the deal. It's what is taxable income. So whatever you get paid, of course, you're reporting that as income. That's what it is. I did do a video. I've done a couple of them. And thank you, Brian Graves. So it says I start Uber Eats in 18. I have a 1099 with a photo company. I start Uber in December 19, January, March 2020. Then you have your car insurance all in 2020. Option A, claim all of 1099 of 19. B, last 6 months. C, February. And then the last option is have a beer. I like it. But so here's the deal, Joseph. Do this, okay? When you're a sole proprietor, just put it all on one Schedule C. That's really your solution here. You don't have to break out the separate Schedule Cs when you're a sole proprietor, okay? So who are you? You're an entrepreneur. You're putting it all on Schedule C. So now all of that gross is going to go on the one Schedule C for 2019. You won't be able to pull in anything related to 18. I understand. I think you just were telling me you started that in 18. Now you can go last 12 months, right? So if you feel like your first quarter was better, you can pull together a P&L that would be from there, from April 1st to 3/31, because you're talking about numbers that you've got here, I believe, in 2020. Yeah. So you can present it, but right now the banks, we don't know what they're accepting. So I would be prepared for both. And what does that mean? You're going to go to my website, jjthecpahelp.com. It's all free, but I've got a sample P&L. Put all of the income, boom, all in one category. Take your expenses, anything. You indicated photo company and Uber Eats, etc. Driving, okay? You're an entrepreneur. It's all on one. That's A-okay, okay? You are separate businesses, but for tax purposes, you're not. You're just all one. The IRS would want you to put it all on one so that you wouldn't manipulate anything trying to separate out into different companies. All to say this, I think that solves it for you. And then thank you. Say you're a godsend, and I appreciate it. Well, you bet. Thank you for the question. What's our next one?
Stephanie Clark. Hi, JJ. So grateful for the information you're putting out. Thank you, thank you, thank you. My question is, we are an S-Corp. The company pays us paychecks and also pays our full medical. Is the company paid medical for the officers of the company also forgivable and considered part of the payroll cost, or is it just the medical for our employees? Thank you for being so generous with your time.
Well, thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate that. Great question, because I've even had to, as much information, talking with my clients directly and helping them put together their spreadsheets, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The short answer is yes. There's nothing in the provisions that disallow an owner to be included, whether it's wages and or the allowable benefits. So as long as that owner's getting wages, okay, then yes, you're able to include those health insurance benefits. And let's take it one extra step. The SBA came out and clarified, I think it was Monday, that would have been the 6th, that it's 100,000 of the salary, okay, and then it's benefits on top of that. So if you have an owner and they're making 110, then it would just be 100, but you'd still get to include the benefits in addition to that.
Josh Jelinski's on and says hi.
What? Josh Jelinski? No way. That's too big time for this. Josh Jelinski, my friend, he was gracious enough. You need to tune in to his radio station. He's on New York on iHeartRadio, and he's caught me off guard a little, because now I want to make sure everybody knows to tune in. And it's W, and it's 3 numbers. Do you have it? Let's see. Maybe Josh will throw it in there. We've got it in here somewhere. But Josh Jelinski is the financial quarterback. And this guy is, and you don't even say he's the next Dave Ramsey, because he is the Dave Ramsey. But to be honest with you, I'll let him keep his opinion of Dave Ramsey private, but I'll tell you my opinion of Dave Ramsey. I'm sure he's a great guy, okay? But his advice is not meant for everybody, but he acts like that it is. And with Josh and on his show, and he's active in what he does. Do we have it yet? In what he does, he's the real deal. He's providing advice for people at their, when I say their level, like whatever it is that they are involved with. I know we had a promo picture. Go to Instagram.
He's the financial quarterback.
Yeah, go to Instagram. Go to Instagram because you did a promo picture on it. I'm trying to figure out it's W something something. Okay, she's aware of it. All right. Josh Jelinski. So Josh Jelinski. All right. Here we go. Yeah. So Sundays, 7:70 a.m. WABC. Okay, that's like big time. All right. WOR, the voice of New York. Yeah. So that's on Saturdays. WOR. I think he hinted. He kind of teased me a little bit that I might be on the gracious enough to have me on the last 2 Saturdays. A lot of you maybe that are on here came across me because of Josh. Josh and I are going to be potentially doing some exciting things to help people as we move forward in these times. And anyways, it's been an honor. We've gotten to know each other a little bit personally. We've been connected for a while, but now we've kind of taken it to the next level. So anyways, Curtis Johnson nailed it on Dave Ramsey. But Josh, thank you for being on and checking us out.
Sooners to you. Hello, JJ. I really enjoyed your videos. I'm a statutory employee that reports income on Schedule C, box checked on W-2. My job is a footwear sales rep. Do I qualify for PPP? Is a statutory employee considered an employee or a business in general?
Yeah. So statutory employee. So we're talking about just what you described. You get a W-2. The box is checked statutory employee, which means that your income is actually reported on Schedule C. It's not subject to self-employment tax because the Social Security and Medicare had already been withheld, and then that company matched it. But just because it's not considered self-employment income, it is considered sole proprietor income, and it allows you to take your expenses against it. That's nothing new. So you absolutely qualify. And in the code in section 1102, when it defines the payroll costs, and I talked about this on Josh's show. Josh has people call in live on his show, 7:70 a.m. Sundays on WABC. But when you're talking about the expenses, okay, on that, you're able to deduct it. And what I'm getting at is that in the new tax law, okay, if you were an employee, this is how I'm really going to prove it to you. And if your banks interpret it differently, they're just plain wrong, because if you are an employee and you have expenses related to your employment before the law that went into play on 1/1/18, you could deduct those expenses on your itemized deductions. They had to exceed 2% of your income, reported on a 2106. They're like, yeah, whatever. All I'm saying is you can't even do that anymore. And why is that important to somebody getting a W-2 that's a statutory employee? It proves to the bank that that is not a wage for an employee. It is a wage for a sole proprietor, because under the law, you get to continue to report that income and your expenses like you've always done on a Schedule C. So take in that Schedule C, and you know, I never advocate in any way, shape, or form doing anything. But if all they want is the Schedule C, then just give them the Schedule C. The poor banker that's going now through, you know, their 500th, you know, PPP app, and they now going to see a W-2 and your W-2's on it, it's going to get put to the side. A manager is going to have to look at it. Senior manager is going to have to look at it. Your CPA is going to get involved. All I'm saying is they don't need the W-2. You don't need to provide it, because the W-2 you're providing is substantiating the gross income. It's not a W-2 that you're providing like you would if you were the employer. So all I'm saying is if they want the Schedule C, give them the Schedule C. No one's asking where that income came from. You give them the W-2, it's going to confuse them. If you give them the W-2, you still qualify for it. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't give them something because then you wouldn't qualify, but it's outside the box. But I'll tell you, in 1102, it is specific in the BB, in the definition of payroll costs. It says the words wages, which means statutory wages.
This is Jaron at LENT. Hey JJ, I'm watching all your live stream videos, so helpful. I have an S-Corp with 3 employees, including myself. First of all, our income is up quite a bit since all of this. Does that preclude us from getting PPP or ERC? Also, can I please hire you as our long-term CPA? You're exactly what I've been looking for. I do live in Idaho, though.
Well, hey, I really appreciate that. I'm honored. It's the biggest compliment when somebody wants to hire you. I know Josh Jelinski, if he's still on with us, is gracious enough that when people call into his show, he does have a team where he's able to work with those individuals. And so anyways, I don't have those. I didn't come in equipped for this in the sense of I was just trying to provide some good information for my clients in a fast way. And Curtis is one of those clients of mine. And so, say it again. Oh, see you, Curtis. But so thank you for that. But I'm not taking on any new clients right now, and I'm honored. Now through this, I'm not able to get a bunch of work done. I'm going to be behind. Maybe something changes. I don't know. But I really wasn't anticipating all of this wonderful feedback. So I appreciate that. So know this: in the ERC, the Employee Retention Credit, there's two ways to qualify for it. So if you're under a circumstance where there's been a shutdown or a partial shutdown, okay, and you have people at home and we're in this time of crisis, that's the only qualification. Then your income doesn't have to be affected in any way, shape, or form. It's just that you paid employees that were at home. If it's 50 or less employees, when they're at home, it doesn't matter if they're actually logged in and doing a little bit of work, you still get the credit, the full amount. If you're over 50 employees as the employer, you're not going to get the credit if your employees are working from home. It would only be for they're at home, you're paying them, and they're not working. The key here is that when we talk about income being down, well, we're going to get to a point where we're not going to have mandatory shutdown or, what is it called? Stay in place, stay in home, stay in shelter. Shelter in place, So let's fast forward to July. Then your income may be down. And then that's where the other secondary item would come into play potentially. And you would be able to take advantage of the earned or the employee retention credit. Now, when you're talking about the PPP, has nothing to do with your gross in any way, shape, or form. I mean, your gross could go up over this period of time, maybe just because you had good accounts receivable, or you somehow are just an online business. So the PPP is based on one thing: payroll, and spending it on payroll, plus these add-ons of rent and utilities. And of course, in payroll is included the match and the health insurance. Did I cover I think I covered that whole question.
Yeah. The next email is like super long.
Okay.
Coming from a CPA. So
okay. Well, let me pull it up. Many thanks. Which one is it?
Kenda, because she corrected us because we said hello to her, and it is Kenda, not Kendra. One of us called her Kendra.
All right. So thank you so much for the question. I'm honored to have CPAs involved. This is a great way to learn. Sean Goodman and I, as well as Justin McCall, CPA, we did some video and answering and going through questions ourselves, and that's just how we learn. And so it's good to have her in our network. So if we need to get some information, we might be able to call on her and get her take on some things.
Well, and just a reminder, while he reads over that, please hit the thumbs up button. Please also hit the subscribe button. And we greatly appreciate it. It's how we keep getting to do what we're doing, is by you guys subscribing and keep coming back. And secondly, tomorrow on Saturday at 4 p.m. Central Time, he will be doing a live to talk to anybody in Uber and Lyft in the salon industry. So please log on to that. And then on Sunday from 2 to 4, he will be doing a live for the real estate people. So make sure that you guys are tuned in on those days.
Yeah, and if there's not that many real estate people that tune in, usually they're doing an open house on Sunday. So that's why we thought maybe Sunday we could do that, because they wouldn't be doing an open house. And then for Uber drivers and Lyft drivers and salons and things like that, they're usually busy on a Saturday. Everybody's getting ready for the weekend, or they're out and about. Okay, so on our question here, and All right, so ERTC. Thanks for the videos. You've helped me so much. And I have bankers now calling me to ask questions. Awesome. So the employer tax credit struggling. Here's my situation. Can you please help me navigate? The business is not under any shutdown order. That certainly would make things more clear. For Q1 2020, receipts are up, not down when compared to 19. However, Q2 4/1/20 to date, receipts are down 67%. So do we qualify now to take the credit? Can we take the credit against the March 941 payment that's owed? Do we have to wait until the end of the quarter to make determination on receipts? If we hold on to the 941 deposit and end up not having enough decrease, though I suspect there will be a huge decline owing, will there be penalties? Okay, and then she gave me some dollars. So I'm going to pull up really quick one thing as I'm going to answer this. So you're on point that if they're not under a shutdown, okay, then this is not going to qualify. So if they're electing to go home, if you're just like, hey, we don't want to risk it, okay, and there's no government shutdown or anything in your community in city or state, then you're not going to be able to qualify for that, unfortunately. And then if your income is up, but you are under a government shutdown, okay, then you can take the credit because it would be based on, and this isn't her, she understands that, I'm just saying it for our group. That would still not preclude you from taking the credit, meaning receipts can be up, but if you're under a shutdown, you've met one of the two. What she's saying is when we're in March, numbers are up and they got no shutdown. So what she's making clear here is that there is no credit available in March, which is in first quarter. So now we're into April, which is part of second quarter. And I'm pulling up here really quick what I had read last night, if I can get to it quick enough. Let's see. And the only thing I'm trying to verify here is that, and if Sean Goodman's on, Sean, is it for the quarter or the month? Because I thought that it was for the month, not for the quarter. Business covered. Well, shoot, you know what? I just answered it. It's the quarter. It is the quarter. It's not the month. I did shoot a video on this, and I think I had indicated if it was the month or the quarter. I didn't know at the time. So let's continue, though, with the question. It says, so do we qualify to take the credit now? Yes, because that 7,200 is an advance request. And what that is more, in my opinion, what that's really entailing is when it's an advance request, it's like, okay, hey, I paid these individuals, my numbers are down. I'm anticipating that then my quarter is going to be down. So I need the money now because I can't wait till July when I finish second quarter and I'm filing the 941. So I need to take the credit now in regard to I'm paying these people now. Now, the IRS did come out and indicate, and I want to say it's probably in the frequently asked questions, but they did indicate through April there would be no penalties because of all the uncertainty. It's somewhere specific. The IRS said specifically that you would not. Now, is she with us? Kendra?
Earlier.
Okay.
Kendra, are you still here?
All right. Well, the only reason I was going to say it is if she's not, then let's just mark down for her to come and watch at the 1 hour mark. If we just remember that. So I think she said she might have a meeting or something. But anyways, what I'm getting at is that you can get the money now. If you miss the boat, here's how you make up for it. When I say miss the boat, you take this advance request on 7,200. We're talking now about the employee retention credit, nothing to do with PPP or the EIDL. This is a tax credit. If you take the tax credit now, you put it in, you get a check back. Okay. Now you're in a circumstance that if later you're like, well, man, we've recovered, we're not going to be more than 50% down, then on the next payroll, you're going to add in whatever it is that you got. Okay. So we got Freddie Krueger here.
Yeah, I just put Freddie in time because he's going to start spamming.
Okay. So at the end of the day, you can take the credit now, and you could take the credit as an immediate reduction of the current employment tax. Now, as related to if you owe tax for first quarter, okay? Yeah, so they owe tax still for first quarter. Can they take the credit against that? And I'm going to go with yes, because you are either sending in a 7,200 to get a check, you're taking the credits that you have and you're applying it to the next payroll. The intention of the employee retention credit, as well as the other one, is that you are able to get money ASAP. I also think if for somehow you misstep, the IRS said something later, we have an ollie oxen free through the end of April to, in essence, get our sea legs here and figure out how it's supposed to work. So I would just say, if you've got it all evened out by the end of April, you're in good shape. And if you're in May or June and you realize, hey, we're going back up, then you need to return that credit by, in my opinion, there's not a way to send the money in. You'd have to just then add it to the amount of tax that you're paying in for payroll taxes. And then in essence, when you file that Form 941, that's when everything should have evened itself out. And that's why that 7,200 can be filed as many times as you'd like to get your advance request. So do we have a troll?
Yeah, we get several of them.
Nice, because you know what CPA Strength said was, so CPA Strength's got like, what, 150,000 subscribers. And I've become friends with him. He's a CPA out of Florida, super great guy, works out. He's literally the strongest CPA ever. But what he told me was, you know you made it when you have trolls. You know you made it when you go live and there's people that come on and they're trying to cause hassle and trouble. So we've made it. In a short period of time. And hey, we'll just let you know that what we're answering is questions from email, okay, that came yesterday. All right. And then we did pretty well get through the questions that we had for the most part at the end of yesterday. So when we're finished with the emails, we're going to go to yesterday's questions. There's so many of them. So the questions that you're putting in now, I don't know that we'll get to them today because we're just running out of time. I've gone 3 to 3.5 to 3 hours and 45 minutes trying to get to all of them. But we are going to get to your questions. So wherever we leave off today, we'll be on tomorrow. We're going to hit Uber and Lyft. If no one shows up from Uber and Lyft, then we'll get right into the other questions. And same thing on Sunday. Maybe reply back to Kenda and just let her know if she goes to the live feed and goes to the 1 hour mark. And I'd like to get her, I really would appreciate her feedback. Does she think I'm on point? Does she have any follow-up questions? And then for any of you that, if you are putting in your question now, we'll try and get to it. We see a few here. And I am just going to say real quick, because this is a popular one. David, JJ, sir, I have a question about independent contractor payroll calculate. Which do I use? Monthly average for payroll or 1099 miscellaneous? So this is a common question. So if you're an independent contractor, you get 1099s and you don't have expenses, you're not filing on Schedule C, you use the gross right there from your 1099s. If you file a Schedule C, it's going to be based on the net.
Okay, next question. Kelly Barton, I filed a tax return as a partnership with my husband, and I have a K-1. I logged my info with Wells Fargo using my business name and EIN. Today, Wells Fargo asked me to correct my tax ID, so I put in my partnership EIN again. I'm worried they want my social security number instead. Any thoughts?
So did she put the partnership in both times?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you know, it's interesting on that because the banks here in Oklahoma are in a situation where they're seeing the opposite with the SBA, which is if you can put in a federal ID number, that's what they're wanting, even if it's at the individual level. Now that may be changing as of today, but I will say this: you don't have wages in the partnership, it sounds. So the partnership will not be the one applying for the PPP because it's only based on wages. At the individual level, go to your Schedule SC, which has your self-employment income. That's where all of this is going to trickle. But that K-1 that you got, If in box 4, guaranteed payments, and box 14, self-employment earnings, those two things together, added together, should be on that Schedule SE. That's the amount that you would be basing it on, which sounds like you've done that. So good job on that. But you would then do it in your Social Security number. And what's interesting though is, and this is just the IRS system. I understand you're both partners, but look on your tax return and see who's the first taxpayer listed. And that would probably be best to use that Social Security number. Whoever's listed first, go to page 1 of your Form 1040. It's going to list both of you on the return. Whoever's the first one listed, use that Social Security number, because in essence, that's your account number, right or wrong. That's the account number at the bank for you.
This is from B Study 01. I tried to apply for the PPP loan online with Chase. Their application asks number of employees. I'm a sole proprietorship with 0 employees, no 1099s, etc. I filed Schedule C for 2019. Chase will not allow 0 to be entered into the field for number of employees. How can I file? It also makes me certify that I pay employees as well. Brian Study.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Great question. So when you're looking at the definition of payroll costs, it includes the self-employment income. Therefore, that's why you're getting to include the Schedule C. You are then considered the employee. I understand that when we look at a traditional term, it's like, well, how's that work? So you are going to put in a 1 there, and that's proper because it's your payroll income. And then when you indicate that you're going to pay employees, in essence, that's just it's how the application is written. But what they mean is are you going to use these dollars in essence to pay the payroll that's been included with this? And the answer is yes. What's your payroll? The net Schedule C. So it's just not great terminology. I thought possibly we would see an updated application, or maybe even a minorly separate application for the self-employed because of some of that wording. But you should feel very comfortable putting in 1 for the number of employees, and you should feel very comfortable saying yes, you're going to pay your employees, because that's who you are as the sole proprietor.
This is from Monica. Hi, JJ. My mother is the owner of a small business. I am the only employee. Can I apply for PPP and I have a 1099?
So your mother can, on behalf of that business, file PPP, and your wages would be included in that calculation, as well as retirement match, state unemployment tax, and the health insurance premiums. And then at your individual level, you can use that 1099 for you to go get a PPP.
Becky Wright with Wright Accounting Services. How will sole proprietorship prove that they are spending their PP money on their own payroll?
Yeah, Becky, right? Becky, thank you so much, and hope tax season will get underway soon for you. But with that being said, yeah, I do not know yet. I have been looking for that. I've actually asked a couple of banks. One of the bankers is just like, I mean, is it just going to be an automatic forgiveness from the standpoint of, a small business, or a sole proprietor, self-employed, and independent contractor, they're not required to have a separate bank account. So from my perspective, I don't know yet. And so time will tell on that, and I hope soon. I would say though, we had a question yesterday, could they go ahead and then just say, hey, here's personal expenses that I bought that then represent? And I said, well, no. So if we are looking at a situation where we are really trying to just like be extra careful and we never get any direction, I would say then that person writes themselves a check and puts it in their savings account from their account that they're using for the sole proprietorship, or puts it in their one account into another, but write a check for it. I mean, that'd be the only other thing I can think of. Hopefully we'll have some more direction on that, but I bet it'll be simple.
Gene McIntyre, if you're waiting on PPP, the EIDL, or any SBA loan, what if unemployment benefits come first?
You can take unemployment until the point that those monies arrive. You just can't take advantage of anything simultaneously. And the reason I know that is that someone may decide to go on unemployment, and this is lasting longer than they thought, and then they decide, I want to go get a PPP. because you can apply for these, and if they're still available, up till June 30. So as long as you're not doing it simultaneously, when the money arrives on any of them, you would stop the unemployment.
This is Michael Downey from Mountain Fitness LLC. Thanks for the fantastic videos. You have provided a lot of information in the past 2 weeks.
Thank you.
All of the advice I've seen, watch most of the videos. Keep advising self-employed to use your Schedule C. We operate our small fitness center under a multi-member LLC structure. It is 2 members, my wife and I, and we employ 2 part-time employees. But we do file a Schedule C. We file our taxes first for the LLC, which provides us each with a K-1. Our local bank in a small town has been working overtime to get set up with the SBA. I've been trying to find out in our specific situation how to apply for PPP. If I follow a couple of your videos, I got the impression that you also weren't certain. I think I understood you to explain that you were not sure yet if we would be able to apply for either at our self-employment or guaranteed payments income factor to the payroll factor, or submit 3 applications, 1 for the business EIN for employees only, and then 1 for my wife and myself using our Social Security numbers. Did I understand the videos correctly? How do you think we should apply?
Yeah, great. And are you on? You watching? We might reply and just put 1 hour and 16 minutes. We'll do that for this, but I think as we move forward, we will just hope that you're online. But anyway, so as it relates to that, great question. So to just quickly summarize, you are in a situation where you have a partnership, and so it's an LLC. So just to be sure, if you have an LLC and you don't have any partners, you're a single member LLC, and then that goes on Schedule C. If you're in a circumstance where you have partners, that LLC is no way a single member LLC, of course, right? And it files a partnership return. So it's most likely going to be 2 applications for this set of circumstances, because the first, the employees up at the partnership level, that will be an application for the PPP to include that payroll. Check with your bank, because it's been inconsistent. Some banks have taken the guaranteed payments paid to the partners and included it up at the partnership level to arrive at getting PPP money. I don't think that that's actually how it's supposed to work, but it all probably works out the same in the end. But then down at the individual level, I'd go to your Schedule SE. That's going to be your biggest way to solve what's going into that self-employment income. If I hear you correctly, if you have 1099 income, maybe from that partnership to yourself, and then you're putting that on Schedule C, then that net would be what you'd use for the PPP. The guaranteed payments off that K1, you would use in your PPP at the individual level if it was not included at the partnership level. And then if box 14 is self-employment earnings listed, you would include that as well, but it would all be one app. What the IRS did make it clear is if you're applying for anything at the individual level, it's one application, not per spouse and not per multiple businesses, just one application at the individual level.
This is from Nestor, and Nestor is a CPA in Puerto Rico.
Wow.
Thanks for your PPP and EIDL tips on your channel. We have a problem here in Puerto Rico. Apparently, lenders are reluctant to comply with the law and pay the commission as agents to the CPAs assisting in the PPP loan applications, even if they file SBA Form 159. Do you know of other CPAs having this problem with lenders?
Yeah, so what this person's talking about, and thank you for tuning in. What an honor from Puerto Rico. So if you are registered for this, the banks don't have a choice. Now the bank does pay that, that fee to the CPA, and so you would need to probably upfront, verify that that's going to be done. But it's not anything, of course, your customer pays. It's not anything you have any repercussions to go to the SBA. So you would need to just make sure that you have an agreement with the bank. It sounds like, quote unquote, they're reluctant, just means they don't want to pay it. Okay. There is no issue with it, period, the end. If you're just following the rules in terms of if you're able to qualify and you meet those qualifications and the bank's giving it out, then the bank then should be obligated to pay it to you, obviously, if you've made those arrangements in advance.
All right, we just answered all of the emails from yesterday. We have gotten so many emails on our new email that, so he will address all of those tomorrow with the Uber thing if we have time, or we just may do another video. I don't know. We'll figure that one out and let you guys know.
Yeah, so thank you for that. And so while now we're going to start answering the questions that are in today's feed. Know this, on Tuesday and Wednesday, on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we were not reading questions from that day's feed. We were reading it from the day before, but we stayed extra and got caught up. And you know what? I think I remember what you just said. We have to answer questions from the beginning of yesterday.
Yeah, but there's not that many. So
oh, okay.
People are probably on the day. So
okay, so we're gonna answer questions from the beginning yesterday because we couldn't get back to those.
All right. So the first one is Roland. I have a question. What if Wells Fargo declined my PPP for any reason, or they are out of funds? Do you recommend I apply with a different lender?
What was it, Chase?
Wells Fargo.
Oh, Wells Fargo. Yeah, Wells Fargo said they're putting a cap on it. If you hadn't heard anything, I'd probably go and check out another bank first before you pull the plug at Wells Fargo. Go to SBA.gov, look for the PPP explanations, and in there you're going to see a link to find lenders when it talks about PPP. So I'd go there, search it out, talk with the banks, see what a bank's going to require of you, that you're not a current customer, because you might be hard pressed to find somebody right away. So then if you do find somebody, get them the documents, have them determine with you if it's something that they can do, that you got them all the documents. Don't just assume that somebody says, yeah, come on in, we can help you, that they're then going to be able to, because they might have different restrictions and it may not ultimately work out. So just straddle it. Stay where you're at, but try and find additional help, but then make sure that they're actually going to be able to help you.
Thomas Continos. I know that this is a repeat question. A K-1 is not considered income, correct?
No, a K-1 is considered income in terms of like for the tax. Now, K-1 in terms of for the PPP, if it's from an S-Corp, it won't count because that's not self-employment income. That's considered investment income. And then if you are getting a K-1 from a partnership, box 1 doesn't count because it has to be box 14 that is self-employment earnings that would in essence count for this. And then also if you had guaranteed payments, that would count. So then if you're down at the individual level, this is where you would apply. So you would have that K-1 potentially, and that's it. And if you had box 4 and box 14 completed, okay, and then you look on your Schedule SC, you would then be able to include that along with any other self-employment income with your PPP. And yeah, I'm just catching my eye that, yeah, there is a bunch of people that are indicating, and I've got on my YouTube channel, I created a video last night where I stated if you would make a comment on this video, and it's called, well, I'm looking like this, and the first word is comment, and it says banks say no, question mark, no PPP for you, question mark. If you're having issues with the bank, just leave a quick comment on there. Just, I'm having issues, or, Wells Fargo in, Seattle, or just Seattle, or yeah, I applied for 5,000, whatever it is that you want to put on there. Because if I can get enough comments on there, just being a CPA and knowing people and, knowing people that then became people, I feel like I really do have a way to get word to those that, I'm not going to overstate it. It's not like I know the president, even though I almost made it on The Apprentice twice. But my point in saying that is if you've had trouble with the banks, go comment on that, because I'm using that to show if I could get it to blow up, hey, look at this. Look how many people are having troubles with banks. And it'd be then this one video with all these comments that maybe somebody would pay attention to. So it'd be kind of one source of, look how many people are having issues. So if you are, go to that one.
And Tim Ruth commented yesterday and said, I'm here from Indiana, but I have a friend who was denied the PPP due to ordinance violations and slow pay on utilities.
Wow. Yeah, that's
a new one we haven't heard.
Yeah, and if you pull up the application, which I'm just going to do real quick, there is nothing about anything local in any way, shape, or form. And so, banks need to be a little careful, especially if they're leaving somebody with the impression that they didn't qualify for this, because all that meant is they didn't qualify at that bank, which in some ways, these banks are going to get in some trouble. There's going to be some attorneys that are going to get a hold of these circumstances, and the damages that will be done is a bank not lending money, and then all the things that decided to, or not decide, all the things that came because they didn't get the money, or that money ran out, and because the bank turned them down because of their own requirements that have nothing to do with this, then that bank should not be in a position to be able to give out that money. Because the banks, in my opinion, okay, if they've been approved, it's if someone presents themselves to you and they qualify, you need to give them the money. Otherwise, we're talking like straight up discrimination, So I'm just looking really quick right here. Let's see, applicant or owner applicant presented, suspended, debarred, proposed for debarment, declared ineligible voluntarily, excluded from participation in this transaction by any federal department or agency presently involved in any bankruptcy. So, and I just read through these others, it's all at the federal level. So if you've got individuals that have issues at the federal level, then you're not going to be able to do it. Even question 1 and 2, it says if they're yes to either one of these, then the answer is going to be no, you're not going to be approved. Then it talks about 20% equity subject to indictment, criminal arraignment, other means of formal criminal charges. Okay, so none of that sounds criminal. Okay, utilities and what was it, ordinance issues. And then number 6, the last 5 years, any felony, pleaded guilty, pleaded nolo, whatever, placed on pretrial diversion, been placed in the form of parole or probation. Okay, none of that's in there. And then if I'm looking on page 2, all the certifications here are in essence of that you're giving information that's true and correct. So I don't know that there's going to be an attorney, but I'll tell you this right now, if there's enough people calling attorneys, those banks should get sued. That banker should get a whooping, and they should have a terrible weekend. And I hope that they have a terrible week next week, because they're ruining this person and that person. If are they on today, or is this yesterday? Well, I hope they're here listening today, because you need to go to the next bank and you need to take a list of this. And those that are listening here, if you're having these circumstances, make a comment on this video for starters, because this is ridiculous. These banks should not sign up. You don't get to pick and choose who you want. You don't get to be a snotty, snooty banker that's going to sit in like, well, they stink, because then what's next, right? Well, I don't like the color of your skin. Well, I don't like it that that's your sexual orientation. Well, I don't like it that you dress that way. Well, I don't like it that you can't do that. You meet the qualifications of the PPP, you must hand out the money. That is straight up discrimination, and it is wrong. And I hope that bank goes under, or that employee gets fired for doing that. And here's why. We are in the midst of a crisis. There is a house burning down. That person goes in with the documentation. They clearly had everything they had to have, because of all they came back with was these little items. Okay, here's a house burning down. And someone's like, I don't like the way you smell. I don't like the way you dress. I don't like the color of this. You wore the wrong glasses. Where does it end? Right? It can't be like, oh, ordinance this, and well, you're the ex-spouse of this person, that, and I heard you said this, and you don't give enough to the church. right? Shame on that bank. Tell me who that bank is so I can call that banker and tell them myself what a terrible person they are on that particular day. I'm sure they're a wonderful person and they're a great parent and grandparent and blah, 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 blah. But as a banker, you're a terrible human being in that 1 minute that you told that person no. You're a terrible human being. I'm telling you right now, in that 1 minute, you reach the level of terrible human being. What's the next question?
Make sure you're hitting the thumbs up button on our video and that you are subscribed. We appreciate you guys being here. Wild Wonderful. I have a 1099 miscellaneous as well as a Schedule C prepared. However, I do not have a registered business, neither business checking account in Chase. How can I apply for PPP with my personal checking account?
Well, Chase is requiring it, which I think Chase is going to have some problems. I think any of these banks that are requiring additional requirements are going to have problems. And I hope Chase has to pay out a ton of money for everybody that applied, because they should. It's disgusting. It's wrong. It's illegal, plain and simple. Now, if you don't have an account with them, I think a bank can say, hey, well, you're not a customer of my bank, so I can't do business with you until you become a customer of the bank. And I don't have time to make you a customer right now because I got a bunch of other customers and their houses are on fire. Okay, that's one thing. But you have a banking account at that bank, and then for them to say, well, you don't have a business account, or for them to say, well, you don't have a loan with us, I hope they pay billions. I hope the CEO, CFO, whoever the higher ups are, see this video and get fired. I hope they're brought before Congress and embarrassed in front of the entire nation how they were discriminatory against people that needed this money. There's no requirement for a business account, and here's why, and I verified it with 3 bankers. You cannot have a business account by law unless you have a tax ID number, period. You can't. And if a bank gives a business account to an individual, they have broken the law, okay? So it is total crap. You take the Uber driver, you take the person that has a side business, the side hustle, they're getting the 1099, they're teaching on the side, right? They're selling flowers on the weekend, right? They're playing musician, whatever you want to call it. They don't need to have a business account. They don't need to have a tax ID number in any way, shape, or form. They're a sole proprietor. How do we know? They're filing taxes as such, Schedule C, okay? There's no way to have a business account. There's no way. You can't. It's illegal. So for you to say, a bank, well, you don't have a business account here, so we're not going to be able to do your PPP, is a form of discrimination. Absolutely. I hope whoever came up with that rule literally is drawn and dragged in front of Congress. And I hope every senator embarrasses the hell out of that person for the audacity to have their own customers denied over some crap. There's nowhere in that application, there's nowhere in the rules, there's nowhere in SBA guidelines in any way, shape, or form that you have to have a business account as a sole proprietor. Now, if you have a tax ID number, yeah, you need to have a business account, okay? But how are you even doing business if you don't have a business account? And then this whole crap about you have a business account, but you don't have a loan here. Boy, I hope they go under. I hope that JP or whoever else gets to buy out them, and it's a total Gordon Gekko move, that these total pieces of crap up in their ivory tower, while there's people down here with their houses burning, and they're like, well, I'm not going to give you any money. I'm not going to do that today. Ha, ha, ha. That's total crap. I can't wait to meet that person. I can't wait to meet you. I can't wait to be at Congress and watch you walk in while there's a group of us out here that have houses burned down because you decided that you wanted to be a discriminator. Okay? I don't even know if that's a word, but holy moly, I am fired up, and this is ridiculous.
JJ for president. All right. Hannah, we are a husband and wife hair salon business, C-Corp. Can I have unemployment?
Yes. Let me C-Corp. Okay. If you paid yourself wages, I know you can get into it. If you own a C-Corp and you've not pulled anything out but dividends, I think you're going to have trouble. A little bit will depend on when you go to apply. Some states they are able to get federal unemployment. Some states aren't. I don't think at all that'll count for state. It might for federal. So it sounds like a real wishy-washy answer. So let me recap it. If you paid yourself wages out of the C-Corp, yes, for federal. If you have not paid yourself wages out of the C-Corp, I don't think that you will apply or be able to succeed in getting those benefits because you've not tried to present yourself as an employee in the past.
Thomas Hervey, are past due vendor invoices considered eligible expenses for PPP?
Well, the short answer is no. Now, if we are going to talk about rent and utilities, when you really look at the fine writing in the law here, it is what the expenses are in that time period. Now, it's going to be a little bit hard to know without any further guidance, which is this. Okay, so if rent was due on the 3rd and you get your PPP money on the 4th, okay, well, does that count? Well, if you paid it on the 3rd, I don't think it counts. If you paid it on the 5th, I think it counts. And what amount counts is the period of time that falls in the 8 weeks. And the reason for this is what they're trying to avoid is having somebody that maybe they're in the circumstances where they're like, I'm a couple months behind on rent. And so now the PPP money comes, they're able to get caught up on rent. They pay the next 2 months of rent. And now all of a sudden, really, they've had 4 months of rent being used for that PPP money. Now, you're not going to jail or anything over that, but it's not going to lead to, first of all, full forgiveness because it's what has been incurred in those 8 weeks based on what you already had in place February 15th, meaning existing lease, existing services. So whether it's past due or not, I think what it comes down to is you're not going to get more than 8 weeks worth of rent, 8 weeks more than of utilities, 8 weeks worth of payroll, et cetera, for it to count.
That's very way. Took an AI CPA course today, and they said the employer retention credit is limited to employment taxes. Is this true?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. It is limited, okay, and what it's limited to, it's very much like the, well, hang on a second. What's the next question? I want to read something real quick. Oh, okay.
For a number of employees, we have both full-time and, this is Neil Chin. For a number of employees, we have both full-time and part-time staff, some that work less than 5 days a week. Do we use full-time equivalent from the last payroll info or count both full-time and part-time? Thanks, you're great.
So are they talking about, does it sound like they're asking about the application? Mm-hmm. So the SBA did come out with some clarification on that. The first thing to note on the clarification was that, I'm going to see if I can actually pull it up, was that you're going to go basically what's around February 15th, whatever's, the payroll period closest to that where you can have an accurate head count. And then as it relates to the terminology of full-time equivalent is thrown around. And so, if you have 2 employees, they each work, 20 hours a week, then that'd be one full-time equivalent. And so my understanding is that when you are listing the full-time equivalent. Do you think I've answered the?
No.
Okay, so let me see if I can pull up. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to come back to the employer retention credit, but what's the next one?
More. Let's say I get the PPP money next week, but I've been out of work since mid-March. Can I begin to pay myself at the beginning of the week I first missed?
Technically yes, but all that will count will be 8 weeks of payroll. So, it couldn't be that really doesn't matter what time period it is. It's just that 8 weeks will be the maximum that counts. So you're going to want to include the 8 weeks. If you're tracking for your own purposes that it's really for this period or that period, I don't see that that matters because you just didn't have pay. Now you're paying yourself. So, you know, logically it might feel like, well, I'm paying myself for back this, but with the PPP and with the IRS and any of that stuff, the payroll was for the period of time that you paid it.
Craig B, on EIDL application for sole proprietor, it only asks for gross income and cost of goods. My 2018 Schedule C showed net loss, purchase equipment, and build out. Can I apply for PPP with loss and treat it as a loan?
So a couple of things I think you were addressing there. So the EIDL, when you log into SBA.gov, it asks for your gross. So you are literally putting in your gross because it's a different program. Your cost of goods sold, there's not really any explanation of what cost of goods sold are. So we have to, in essence, just go to what we know traditionally a cost of goods sold, which would be your direct expenses to generate that revenue. Typically, that would be your inventory and possibly your payroll. And then the number of employees that it is inquiring of, I found nowhere when it wants to know what date you are determining that. So I've only told people, well, then how many employees do you have, you know, right now at the time that you're applying? If you're wanting to use a different methodology for the employees, okay. I mean, bottom line is that now we know that that SBA, the EIDL, is somehow going to be based just on a head count of employees, maybe including the cost of goods sold. So all I'm telling you is that's all EIDL. You put your gross, you put your cost of goods sold, put the head count that you have now, boom. Now in PPP, unfortunately, if you have a loss, you're not going to qualify because it's based on the net income on that Schedule C. When you see other things that talk about gross income with PPP, that would be for an independent contractor who in essence just reports that income as other income on their individual tax return subject to self-employment tax, but they're not doing a Schedule C. So the only reason it says gross, which I think just confuses the matter, is that there is no expenses.
Michael Bernat, own a couple of supermarkets, doing well for now, considered an essential business, but I'm worry about in a couple of weeks. Could I still apply for the EIDL loan then?
Yeah, I would say, did they say they're doing the PPP, right? Didn't they say? Okay. Don't wait. Neither one of them require you to wait. You are seeing economic injury heading your way. That qualifies you for either one because both of them is, do you anticipate economic injury? Do you anticipate not having money to be able to pay your employees? Then apply. So get that PPP because if you own shopping centers, bless your heart, you've got a lot of employees. Get that PPP in ASAP. Because you said you have multiple locations, if you for some reason are hitting that over 500 employee mark, then look at how you break out each location, the rules related to that, the affiliation rules. You need to probably get with somebody there locally. The other aspect of that is if for some reason they're in 3 different entities, check with your bank. But my understanding is that you would want to apply per ID number. So, oh, do we have another troll in here? Awesome.
All right, so now we're going to move into today's video.
You know, the thing with trolls is they just, they're at home right now and they're just so excited and they're getting attention right now and they're just jumping around, so excited. Like, oh my gosh, they noticed me. The only reason I'm noticing them is that it just proves that we're big time now, because when you have trolls, when you have losers show up that have nothing else to do because they're just that big of a loser, that's when you know you're big time, because they want to try and come and rain on a parade when we're just here helping people.
This one is from Aaron. Are we eligible for PPP if our new business started January 10, 2020?
Absolutely. So in the law, it indicates very specifically that if you came into existence then you would use January 1, 2020 through February 29, 2020. as your numbers, okay, for the payroll. And if you're a sole proprietor, you would use that figure in terms of your net income. And you most likely, yeah, if we're in April, you would have already had your first quarter payroll. So you might check with the bank to see if, will you use the first 3 months or the 2 months. But the thing to note is you would then only divide the number of months. Trying to say your payroll costs would only be divided by the number of months that you're including. The only way that this counts is because it's a new business. So if you had an existing business that was in play in 19, they couldn't just select to only include a specific period of time. But the way to look at it is if you've been in business for more than 12 months, you're including the last 12 months. If you've been in business 10 months, you're including 10, and therefore whatever your payroll costs would be, you divide it by 10 in that example of 10.
Kitty O'Sullivan is saying that she attended a webinar and one of the panel members was someone from the SBA's Denver office. He stated that even though the SBA is asking for COGS, they're really looking for operating expenses.
Oh, okay.
He said, just put total operating expenses, including COGS, in the box marked COGS.
Yeah, that's great info. We'll probably include that in a video. Yeah, thank you. I always wondered why they were putting in cost of goods sold, because many businesses don't have that, especially rental businesses. And hey, real quick, I do want to note here that on this employee retention credit, it's actually saying, I've been saying 50 or fewer employees, and they updated this. I'm sorry, you get to go retroactive, but I'm correcting myself because I'm now seeing in this new interpretation, for lack of a better word, that if you're 100 employees or less, you still get the credit, even if the employee is quote unquote working at home. And then I wanted to double check. So the question that was brought up was, is the employer retention credit limited to payroll tax? And I do know for the taxes that are, the tax credits, they're out of the Families First Coronavirus Relief Act, are absolutely limited to the Social Security tax of the employer. And that is on the annual basis. It's not just based on the payroll or the quarter. That would be on the annual basis, which for most, if we're only having those credits for a few months max, would probably be able to get and realize the full credit. And then as it relates to I'm still looking. So as it relates to the employee retention credit, I want to double check that it is limited in terms of limited to the employer tax, because what I want to make sure that maybe someone didn't get confused on is that what it does indicate here is that if your credit exceeds the amount of tax that you're paying in, you file the Form 7200 to say, hey, I had more credit than I'm getting ready to pay in for my employer taxes. Therefore, I need to file this 7200 so that I can get that money now and not even wait till the next payroll period, which can be misconstrued as that is limited to payroll tax. What I want to double check here is, if I possibly can before we get too far, is the overall credit limited? Because I'm not recalling seeing anything that limited to it. It makes sense. So what is our next question?
Our next question is from Terry Cheka, Airbnb host, Schedule C, D, and D. What PPP do we apply for?
So it'll be off Schedule C. D would be you bought and sold and had capital transactions. E is going to be your rent, and in essence is passive. Now, we'll tell you this. If on Schedule E, that is where, for whatever reason, you're reporting your Airbnb income, double check with the bank, because if you've been treating it as your business, okay, and it's not passive, then you might be able to include it. So
Make sure you're hitting the subscribe button and thumbs up. We appreciate you guys.
Aline, thank you, sir, for your time and energy. JJ, you rock. Thank you so much for that. Yeah.
Oh, Jamie Stillman, what if you only made $400 for the year in a business? Could you apply for the PPP?
Well, I mean, technically, yes, but it would only yield $400 divided by 12 times 2.5. So go and do the EIDL. It's based on your gross. And if it's 400 for last year, then, you know, what's your gross for this year so far? And in essence, you know, pull out the last 12 months and you would have better luck no matter what, going for the EIDL, which is at SBA.gov. And at the top, there's a yellow strip that says COVID-19 disaster loan. Click on that.
All right, GRTH got approved for loan. Same day, we paid over 10 grand out of our own money to our employees. Bank says we need to sign either today or Sunday. I'm guessing we can't use PPP, right?
They want to know, okay, well, I'm going to guess on what the question is. So bless your heart for paying your employees out of your own pocket. The way that you should do that is you want to, because this is just the reality. If you paid it out of your own pocket, here's what happened. The money went up to the business. It's a loan, okay? And the business then used that money to pay the employees. If you literally ran the payroll, okay, then your PPP money is not going to be paying for that payroll. And the biggest part is that it's really payroll that was for the period of time before PPP. But if you're asking, you know, can you pay yourself back the dollars that you put in? I want you to just separate in your mind that once those dollars go in your operating account, they don't follow each other on the destination. They're just now all commingled, the same way as if you took 2 bottles of water and you put it into 1 cup, you got 1 cup of water, okay? And then out of that cup of water, you conduct your business. When you're at the end of the 8 weeks, you look and go, okay, well, here's how much I spent on payroll. Here's how much I spent on rent out of my 1 cup of water, okay? And you're probably hopefully tracking along the way. And that's another way of saying, and I'm not even saying this in a facetious way, that's just how business works. This is how a bank account works. And when that money hits in there, now it's sitting there. You're going to have money later to pay payroll. Okay, so if you now are able to pay yourself back, you can. If you in your mind think of it as direct from PPP, don't, because it's not. Okay. Now I will say this as a caveat. Okay, if your business account has nothing in it, okay, and now when you put PPP money, it has that money in it, but nothing else, then I feel like you would need to wait until there's other money from other sources, just as a starting point, as a pure conservative. I don't think you'd have any issues, but as a pure conservative, but if you have 10 grand in your bank account and you put 10 grand in, now it goes to the payroll and now you're getting your PPP money. Okay, now you're just at a new ball game. So hopefully that made sense. Whoever's helping you with your books, just give them the analogy. You know, we got 2 things of water going into 1 cup. It's all together here. Now we're just making business decisions.
Cassandra Brown speaks. I really appreciate all the help you're giving.
Thank you.
I heard about 10 days sick leave at $510 a day and 50 days of family leave at $200 a day. That's part of the CARES Act. How do we get this money? Okay, so those credits, we got maybe some people that need to be some time out. If we're in a circumstance where you're talking about the coronavirus tax credits, right? So that came out of the Tax Relief Act before the CARES Act, just as a technicality. And the thing to note is that it's $200 a day or $511 a day for 10 days for somebody that has a coronavirus, suspected to have the coronavirus, symptoms of the coronavirus, or caring for somebody with the coronavirus symptoms of, or thinks they have it, or under quarantine. So if you have it
right? You're quarantined, you have it, you have the symptoms, you think you do, okay? That's scenario one. Scenario two is you're caring for that person. So if that person has it, the credit is the lesser of what you paid that person for that day that they are out, or $511, the lesser of. And that's a max 10 days, okay? If they're caring for somebody, same thing. It's what you paid them compared to $200, and you get the lesser of, and you get that for 10 days. Then the Expanded Medical Leave Act that came into play. That is a $10,000 per employee max, okay? And you have a $200 a day cutoff on that one as well, okay? And that's $10,000 max per employee, but that's $10,000 max credit per employee. Now we have the employee retention credit. So now we're really dealing with 4 scenarios, 3 kinds of credits, but 4 scenarios, okay? So when you're into the employee retention credit, it's what you paid that employee, and the first 10 grand that you pay them that they're out, 50% of that amount is going to be a credit for you, okay? The thing to note here is that you got to pick and choose what your credit is, okay? You don't get to apply more than one credit to any one day. So basically you would look at it and go, well, what circumstances apply here? And that's what I'm going to apply here. Now, it does indicate that you are able to do that 10 days, but you don't get to do 20 days on one employee. So if they have COVID and then they're caring for COVID, well, they've met the qualifications of the 10 days under that one. But if they meet other qualifications of taking care of kiddos and under family emergency, which is the expanded, or the employee retention, they can get that, but just on different days.
Sarah K. For PPP, what if I turn in a P&L for 2019 and I finish out my 2019 taxes after I get funded and the numbers have changed, higher or lower?
Well, my understanding on that is it is what it is when you apply, and that there would be no difference, lower or higher, because basically at the time you apply, you've provided the information. Did you qualify based on that information? Yes. There you go. The only way that you would need to redo anything, and of course you didn't do this, but the only way you'd have to redo anything is if there was a gross negligent error or you knew that something was incorrect. And so if it's grossly different, right, you indicate that you are, you got another one, do you see it? Yeah. If you've got something where you know that you're like, oh shoot, we put 50 grand and it's 5, you're going to need to fix that. So my understanding is that it is what it is, and at the time of application.
Leo C. I have been working on a design build project. Due to corona illness, I lost about 3 weeks personally of design time. What can I do?
So if you're able to quantify that with a dollar amount, then you might be in a situation where you're going to qualify for something. But if it's just you've lost the opportunity of time, it doesn't really qualify you for anything. But what you'd want to look at, though, is that if you have whatever it is that you're doing, if you've been doing it, it's not based on, well, I lost this time. It's based on, well, I do pay myself this, or I do have this self-employment income. So that's what then qualifies you for the PPP, not based on an actual loss or potential loss. The EIDL is I have a business and I'm looking at economic issues. That can be one of them. But at the same time, you losing it, if you don't have any other, if this is just something new to you, meaning you don't have any prior activity, a prior business and prior net income, then this wouldn't be anything that would yield anything to you. If you're an employee, you can get federal unemployment. If you have an existing self-employment trail of activity, you could get federal unemployment.
JP, should we have our CPA file with 7,200, or can we do this ourselves?
Oh, yeah, you can definitely do it yourself. If you have anybody prepare it, obviously they're the ones that need to fill out some information at the bottom. If you have somebody that you want to be able to discuss the matter with the IRS, you'll see there's a called a third-party designee, and all that means is that that party can talk about it with the IRS. If you're using a payroll company, you can still complete these yourselves, but there is a question of put the name and ID number of the payroll company that you're using, because this, in essence, can affect future filings, and so they're wanting to make sure everything matches up. But the short answer is yes, you can absolutely.
I have a question, or this is David. I have a question about independent contractor payroll calculation. Which do I need to use for monthly average payroll between 1099 miscellaneous gross income or the net profit, which is Schedule C, line 31?
Yeah, so if you're filing a Schedule C, it's just line 31. The only way you're using gross is if, in essence, you're not filing a Schedule C, and then just by default, it's a gross. So if you're an independent contractor, that's kind of where that falls into play, where you're just doing 1099s, meaning you're not doing a Schedule C. Then you're able to do it on the gross. So Deep Patel, are we going to keep this video? Yes, you'll be able to watch this video back, and it'll be even in a playlist called JJ the CPA Live.
Manem Rabadi. I was told by my bank since I filed under Schedule E, I don't qualify. What are my other options?
Yeah, that's going to be true because that's considered investment or passive income. But you could go and you're welcome, Deep. You can go and get that EIDL. So that would be the option. You'd put in your gross rents, and then whatever expenses are that you have related to that. It'll ask how many employees. You're the one owner, so I guess go ahead and put one, because I think you have to put something. And this term employee has taken on a new meaning, because self-employed individuals that would never have been deemed an employee are considered an employee in these times. So I would at least put the one employee, but do the EIDL, which is sba.gov.
Tina Beard, I am so appreciative of all this information. I'm a CPA, and you have helped me so much.
Well, thank you, Tina. And I know you've been on before, and your name seems familiar, so I really appreciate that. I do want, who asked the question about, is the employee retention credit limited to payroll tax? Because I've still been looking for that, and I'm not seeing that the overall credit is limited to anything. What I am seeing is what I described is on that the employee retention credit. It's just simply if your credit's higher than what it is that you're getting ready to pay into the IRS, that you can do the 7,200. So in theory, it's a way of saying, well, it's limited. So I'm not seeing anywhere that this is limited to the employer payroll tax. Now, part of it's because I'm talking and answer questions and skimming, so I do plan to get a more concrete answer.
Paul Hambrick, I'm a sole proprietor, no employees. I pay for my life and my health insurance costs. It is not a group policy. Can I pay that expense from PPP?
Yes, and it should have been included when you got your money, even if it wasn't, but that does count. They're self-employed, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, self-employed. Yeah, some of that terminology, they were really focused in on, the employee language, which then leads to the group, but I do know. So name PPPs based on the net Schedule C.
I will just say this, we don't know this lending place personally, but I know that a lot of you guys are apparently having a lot of success with cabbage, and you're posting about that. So I'm glad, and this gentleman just said Chase wouldn't let him apply, even though he had several accounts and he's even a private client status. But then he went through cabbage this morning and wasn't having that many problems. So for you guys that are asking us things, apparently cabbage is pretty awesome because other people are having good experiences with them. So, and we have people watching you from Turkey.
All right. I love it. Hey, real quick, I forgot. So we're just going to talk about this on the live show. There's a video I put up on YouTube that you're not going to find if you go to my YouTube channel. But Amanda and I've been working and thinking on this for a long time, and we feel like this is a good time to do this. But I am going to launch, and it's at no cost to anybody, a reality show on YouTube. What are we talking about here? That's ridiculous. So bear with me for a minute. There are companies out there that need somebody's help that is good with numbers and taxes and structure. When you watch TV and you're watching any of the different channels and someone's bathroom needs to be redone, or their kitchen or their house or their yard, or they need to sell, we have all these different shows on and helping people with all of those things. And there are a couple of shows out there, The Profit being one, PROFIT on CNBC. Now he comes in and does an investment. So anyways, at the end of the day, here's what I'm doing. I'm taking applications, for lack of a better word, which are very loosely, a very loose term there, application. But I'm looking for 3 businesses that are outside of Oklahoma that need my help, that I'll go and provide my help, all free of charge, no games, no hassle, no hidden anything. I'm not taking on new clients. I'm not looking for new clients. But what we're going to do is we're going to film the process. We're going to put it up on YouTube. Okay. It's something that I think would be fun. It would be helpful. It would be a way to help other people. And it would be a way that others can see that they're not alone, that there's issues that are going on. So the only criteria here would be that you need to be able to allow us to video the process. That's it. And then we're going to put up episodes on YouTube. That's it. It's a project. I'm also going to be back doing a speaking tour at the end of the year, which is really just designed for CPAs. And the only reason I'm even bringing that up is that I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to pick businesses that are in the cities that I'm already going to be in. So for those of you that have a business and you're affected by this, so I'm not talking about I'm going to come and help you fill out a PPP app. This isn't to help you do your taxes. I will not do the taxes. This is a 2-time, we come out, you give us some advance information, we assess the circumstances and give you some homework, help you walk through some things, look at your structure, look at the whole picture that you're dealing with. And then we come back out and see how you implement it, help you implement it. What we're looking for is a larger business, most likely, or a family business, a business that's established. And again, it's not to do tax returns. This is to be a full encompassing business that has hit hard times because of what we're dealing with now, that could use the help of JJ the CPA. So go to jjthecpahelp.com. I've got a page called Show, and I've got a quick video there. You click on it, send us an email, and basically in the email, just say, here's why I think I need JJ the CPA's help. Here's our circumstances, and we'll reach back out. It's just finding another way to help people, but it's not to sit and prepare tax returns. And it's not for me to then become your CPA. It's for me to come out and help you through a crisis, which is now. Yeah. And we would once we can get out and about, we're going to be there. Be that quick, that soon. We just want to put it up on YouTube. That's it.
And everyone's saying you're going to have a better reality show than the Kardashians.
I love it.
Gary Y, are solo 410K contributions still due by April 15th, or is that pushed back as well?
Yeah, great question. So it's all the way to July 15th, and the IRS actually came out yesterday, and someone announced it. It might have even been Clay. Someone announced it on the show, but thank you, name. But if you have anything due between with the IRS and with typically the state income taxes are following suit on this, but anything from April 1st through July 15th, the due date's July 15th. So anything due, the IRA, the HSA, first quarter estimated tax payments for 2020, of course, 2019 tax returns, anything related to trusts, the nonprofits that are due May 15th now are due July 15th. And they even specifically indicated that the second quarter estimated tax payments for 2020 are due July 15th. So I did a video on it where I just indicated that basically there is no April 15th deadline. It all now is just simply July 15th.
Yes, Juan from Miami Beach Luxury Real Estate, then one of their pre-requirements is you do have to have a pre-existing subscription to the YouTube channel.
Thank you. Or go subscribe now.
Alexander, specifically, what are considered utilities for business expenses that are qualified to be forgiven for PP use of funds?
Yeah, great question. And I like we're getting down to that nitty gritty. The first thing, the IRS said no cell phones. Now, I'm not sure how that's going to work with the sole proprietor that's been writing off their cell phone that doesn't have a landline. But if you look at it strictly now, it's going to be the utilities that are in the business name, not just paid by the business. So it'd be the ones you would guess, right? So water, electric, gas, then the telephone, doesn't matter how many lines it is, and then your internet. But to be clear, it doesn't include any fees related to those that manage your it's not your IT expenses. It would be what you're paying to the company to have internet. And then I've not seen anything if you have cable, television, but I don't think that counts. But then I've gotten other questions, well, does this count as the utilities and does this count as the utilities? And the answer is going to be no to all of them because it's just boiled down to here's what it is. The only thing I would think is on the home office, if you only work at home, it might be to the extent that you are able to take a home office deduction, that might be then a portion that you would get for loan forgiveness. But those that have taken home office deductions know that it's a very little deduction.
Genome, is the advance on EIDL advance considered income? Can it interfere with unemployment?
Great question. It's not considered income, but it is a reduction of your expenses. So whatever business expenses you have, in essence, it's going to offset that. So it may feel like it's income, but it's an offset of the expenses, which more to look at it is if you had 10 grand expenses, but you had 10 grand from EIDL, well, in essence, that's zeroing it out. So it's almost like those expenses aren't deductible. So that's why it's not included in income. And then absolutely, it is not an interference or anything you need to report when signing up for unemployment.
Chelsea Blumenthal. If I file as sole proprietor and I'm a hairstylist and a child care provider, I file them both separate. Can I fill out two separate PPPs?
If it's separate ID numbers, does it say? If it's separate ID numbers, then yes. If it's a joint tax return, then it'd be just under the main taxpayers or person listed first social. But if for some reason you have something broken out, not quite catching it, if it's one ID number for two different activities, then it just go under the one ID number.
Sarah Kay, if I'm a sole with a Schedule C S-Corp, no employees, can I just use 1099 for my salary and then file for PPP?
Can you read it one more time?
If I'm a sole with Schedule C S-Corp, no employees, can I use just 1099 for my salary and file the PPP?
No, because you would have to pay yourself wages, and you could pay yourself a 1099 down at the individual level and then put that on the Schedule C. Maybe that would fly. I don't think that the IRS, well, I know the IRS doesn't allow that anymore, meaning 1118, the IRS said S-Corp owners that pay themselves 1099s instead of wages will be ignored, meaning you can't do that anymore. So they were saying like, hey, stop it. You got to do wage. And I know that I had clients, if they weren't paying themselves wages, we would do the 1099 to the S-Corp owner. Now, I would just say this, if in 18 you paid yourself a 1099 and you picked it up, and then in 2019 you paid a 1099 and you picked it up on Schedule C, and you've been already doing that, then probably when you present it to the bank, it's not something you came up with just to get the PPP. So you would have already had to have filed that 1099 by February 15th, which actually it was due January 31st. So if you had already filed the 1099 to yourself and you've already been using the Schedule C, then I would say yes, because that's how you've been going about it. So you would probably want to really dig into the facts and circumstances on that one.
Retro Rewind LLC. I use PayPal Business for my old and records and use it as my business account. No checks. I'm a sole proprietor LLC, just me. So record during the head type deal. So what a P&F do for me?
Yeah, so the bank's going to require, a Schedule C or a P&L. All the activity being in the PayPal works pretty good because, and as money in, money out, there you go. But banks want to check, they want to check a box that they have a P&L. They want to check a box that they have a Schedule C. They won't be able to deal with anything really other than that. You can go to my website, jjthecpahelp.com, and I've got a sample profit and loss. So even if it's just 3 line items, the bank's going to want that. Hey, I just wanted to point out, just caught my eye, because this will be the first person in the United States of America, potentially. It's definitely the first one I've heard of. Scott Craig, my daughter just received stimulus check, $1,200 plus $500 plus $500, direct deposit, lives in Wisconsin. Boom.
Wow.
Boom. Thank you for sharing. That's awesome. Tell them that they're the first one I've heard of. So I hope that that's going to be something. So anyways, very, very excited about that.
That is awesome. All right. Tara K, I'm concerned about the 8-week period to use PPP funds, especially when most people may not be back to work until after May.
I know. I mean, this is the number one concern of every one of my clients, in the sense that, the employees are either, on unemployment or they haven't been able to be paid. The thing to know about the PPP is that, it is being given to you so that you can use it for payroll. But we know that there's lots of circumstances where you're not going to have those employees to pay for whatever reasons. There's lots of reasons, right? But again, I just want to reiterate, it's designed to go ahead and pay those employees. But what I do think may happen, and I have no basis of where this comes from other than just my hunch on it, which is this, that they're going to change, I think, maybe that 8 weeks, and maybe make it a little longer. And the reason why is that when they put that law into play and they came up with the 8 weeks, I think there was a lot of people that thought this was going to be, maybe this would all be behind us when we hit Easter, right? Which is this Sunday, or maybe by the end of April. So the time frame has just changed on how we're dealing with this. And I think employers are having the struggle of, okay, do I hold on to this money to pay employees when we open back up? Because I am not going to have any money when that happens. Or do I pay employees now when they're at home, when they can get unemployment? So there's a real quandary there. And then the business owner, in essence, under current conditions, is taking on the risk of not having something forgiven because they didn't spend it in the 8-week period. And this is meant to be forgiven. And so I think if you did end up spending it on payroll, maybe we have an extension. But I'm telling you right now, on April 10th, right now, there's no indication of anything other than you got to spend it in 8 weeks. And then if you don't, you just owe it. It's a 1% loan. It's 6 to 12 months deferred. And then you have 10 years, up to 10 years to pay it back.
Modern Automotive. JJ just signed the DocuSign for our PPP today. 88,900.
Nice. Oh, wow.
Would not have been on.
Well,
also,
thank you.
Your book arrived yesterday.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. And they were the one that commented before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Modern Automotive.
Modern Automotive. Okay. go to jjthecpahelp.com and go to the page called Show. Listen to that video. Let me know if you're a candidate.
All right.
Or if you'd like to participate.
Liz Tucker, when you said unemployment is taxable, was that federal or state or both?
Well, that's a great freaking question on the federal, because we've not had it broken out separately because it's not existed in such a manner. I know on the state that it is. I'm gonna say yes, but I'm gonna write that one down. And I've also got this on the employer retention credit on the limitation. So I will tell you this. I'm gonna put a note, and if you're tuning in tomorrow, I will answer these questions first: the FEC or the ERC, and then the federal.
Also, Liz says, by the way, you have helped us feel empowered during this crazy time. Thank you.
Good. Well, good. I'm glad, because I'm a small business owner too, and I'm working with a lot of other small businesses, and I know that there's banks out there trying to do the right thing. There's other people out there trying to do the right thing. But at the same time, us small business owners, we do need to make sure that we're being put in line and taken care of. And so good. I'm glad to hear that. Because sometimes I'm just talking to this camera and you get a little carried away, especially if it's like 3:30 in the morning, it's quiet, and you're just letting out your entire frustration of all this into the camera.
Mary Maxwell, my partner is a sole proprietor applying for PPP and meets all the criteria. He's a permanent resident. He tries to apply. Oh, never mind. I thought it was a question. He tried to apply with U.S. Bank, but they're not processing loans for non-citizens at this time.
Well, yeah. So check. I thought that it said it was a permanent resident.
He's a permanent resident.
I thought that still qualified. So check with another bank, because I thought I read specifically that that status did qualify.
Brush fire chef for companies with under 100 employees. The FAQ on the IRS website says we can deduct 50% of all wages paid to employees on Form 7200. But you stated only wages paid to people who stay home. I'm confused.
Oh, okay. Well, let's just look at it. Let's see, FAQ. This stuff came out days ago, so let's just look at it. I'm not above looking at something, rereading it, and let's figure this out.
Also, I'm going to say it again. You guys can just scroll up and down the comments. So this is, again, we know nothing about this institution, but everybody on here is raving about how awesome Cabbage is. So you people that are commenting and saying problems finding a bank, apparently Cabbage is really awesome. So just scroll back up and down the comments. That's why we're all here. We're all networking and collaborating to help. Make sure you are thumbing up and that you are subscribed to the channel.
Okay, so on the ERC, it says qualifying employers must fall into one or two categories. The employer's business is fully or partially suspended by government order due to COVID-19. And then how is it calculated? The amount of credit is 50% of qualifying wages paid up to $10K after March 12th. Let's see. And then employers with less than. If the employer had 100 or fewer employees on average 2019, the credit is based on wages paid to all employees, regardless if they worked or not. If the employees worked full-time or were paid full-time work, the employer still receives the credit. Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. As you read it right there, it's like, well, they're just getting the credit. So I will respond to that. I just know that I read very specifically, and so this may just be an answer and a question, but I know that when I was reading through the details, it was meant to be that, that an employee wasn't working at the business and they were home, and because they were at home and the employer still paid them, then they got the credit. So I see what you're saying. And I'm not going to just be some hard-headed CPA saying, well, too bad, this is what I said. So I'll look into that. For now, I'm going to say that they're not working, because I read this whole scenario describing if they were working or not working at home, and it wasn't from a news article. It was something from the IRS. So I will look into that. If you don't mind, is this a comment? Who was it? Well, if you're still on, will you send me an email at jjthecpahelp.com, and then just in the regarding line put home or not question mark, home or not question mark. Yeah, that okay, we lost you. That way I can give you the answer if you're still on. I want to give you the answer because I'm going to find it. Home or not, put in the regarding line.
Thank you, Darren, for letting us know that. Again, I don't know anything about Cabbage. Cabbage is not a lender. It is actually one of those places that gets you and connects you with other lenders. So,
okay.
Anyways, this is from Jason Ray. My office is on my property. It's 1,200 square feet. It's under my mortgage, and a percentage of my mortgage fall under expenses.
You know, I came across something that you know, I'm not seeing officially, but that in those circumstances like that, it would, and what it would come down to more is how have you been treating it in the past? How have you been treating that property as of February 15th? Were you already breaking out that interest? Were you depreciating that property? Because, you know, if you have one loan, but it's for two different, you know, pieces of real estate, so to speak, and you're officing in it. And so know this, some of that's going to kind of depend on your banker, so to speak. And so whoever did your PPP, I would present those set of circumstances to them. I might wait a little bit, just let them get past the initial rush. If I was the banker, what I would want to look at is, how did you report this in prior years? Did you take it as a deduction? Did you break out the mortgage interest? Has the business in the past paid that mortgage payment or part of it? So I would be looking at how did you treat it in the past, and if you had been treating it as a business expense, breaking it out, etc., then I would probably say you would be able to include it. But you might also get hit, you know, at the knees, because if it's not in the business name, that might be something that precludes you. So I say go for it. It's going to be a calculation, and make your case for it, because I do get that would be something that I would take as a deduction on your tax return. So that's why I feel like you could count, but it would depend on how it was treated.
Steve Sparks, I have an S-Corp 2018. I paid myself $75,000 dividend income. Do not have standard payroll documents. Any way I can apply for PPP?
Did they say, are they an S, or they say they're an S, right? Yeah, okay. Unfortunately not, but I'm going to tell you this. I talked with 2 elected officials last night, and that's why I'm telling you right now, okay, if you're on here, either pop off, or when I'm done, I've got a video and it says banks say no on the picture. Banks say no. So if you're having a problem with the bank, or you've been delayed, or you're denied, or anything, go in and make a comment on that. Okay, make a comment about something about it, even if it's just a minor one, because if I can show that this is a problem over and over and over and over again, then individuals that I'm interacting with can see something to take action on. So it can't be that I say all these comments or people commenting on the other videos. So I'm just encouraging you, hey, this could be a point of that. And so all I'm getting at on that is that when I was talking to these 2 elected officials last night, they were under the impression that S-Corp net income should be included in PPP. Okay? It's not. There's no way, based on the way the law is written and interpreted, but they had the distinct impression that S-Corps, the net income, should be included. Now, I don't see how, but that was one of the things that I brought up, is that S-Corp owners are being left out in the cold, because they're only getting relief to the extent of their wages. They're not getting relief to the extent of anything beyond wages for themselves, wages and health insurance retirement plan.
George Sablano, JJ answered your question at the beginning of the video because you emailed us your question. So scroll back to the beginning and you will find your answer.
Yeah, you should be able to replay it. And you know, I kind of gave a little update for a little bit. And so I probably had this jacket on when I answered your question because I had another jacket on when we started. So hopefully we got you the answer that you want.
Kelly Blackwell may have missed this. Schedule C positive and Schedule F negative over negative. So PPP based on C or C plus F and not elements.
I would go with C only. These are two separate, distinct businesses. So I would just put it in for Schedule C. We've had another popular question I'm just seeing here. So thank you, Michael Williams. I really appreciate your comment. It means a lot. You do have to know this on your 2020 return. The monies that your PPP is paying for, those are not tax deductible expenses. So it's kind of however you want to reflect this, going to be this dollar amount of PPP income, or I'm sorry, PPP funds that will be a reduction of expenses. So for my clients, we still want to know what was the full year of rent. We want to know what was the full year of expenses related to whatever it is, utilities, the payroll. So we're going to still track that, but then we're going to take that amount that was given as a negative expense. So I definitely know you don't include it in gross income, but the other way you can account for it is pay for, you just do not put it as an expense on your P&L. But I think for us, we're going to show it on the P&L, but then show a reduction of expense as it relates to that.
Nisha Khan, I have subleased my restaurant. I have my own corporation, which gives me a monthly salary, no employees. Can I still apply for PPP?
So they get a salary from another entity? And then they have, what, an S-Corp?
I have my own corporation.
Had their own corporation.
Which gives me a monthly salary.
Oh, that gives her a monthly salary. Okay, yeah. Yeah, beautiful. Great job doing that. Because, yes, your wages at the entity level, combine them with your health insurance, your employer match, and then the state unemployment tax, divided by 12 times 2.5, boom. You'll need your payroll records, et cetera, et cetera. John Stafford, yes, limited to 100 like on the employees. And George, thank you so much. Men, Ali.
And Sasha, can I resubmit my 2019 taxes and apply with numbers?
You know, I mean, technically there's nothing precluding you from doing that. I think I would be remiss to recommend that you do it. I think you would have to have a reason besides, and I'm not saying this is what you're doing it for, but you'd have to have a valid reason to amend other than reducing down your expenses. So if it was there was something else that was not correct on your return, okay, meaning you took expenses that you weren't allowed to take, you put income on there you didn't have to report, which I don't know how that exists, or you didn't report income. My point is if you amend that return, you're going to need another reason for it, and you will be questioned about it when you go before the bank examiner. 100%, you will be questioned about it. They will absolutely know that you amended your return because banks have that documentation like that. And when you sign up for an account or a loan, you give them permission to be able to just get what's called a transcript. So at the end of the day, we talk to the individuals that are helping with that. And I'm not at all saying that you're trying to pull any shenanigans there. I'm just saying tread lightly, and you really would need to have another reason besides just wanting to make your numbers look better. Not saying that you are.
Ellie Finch, have you heard anything about creditors reporting late payments because of being out of business for months? Were they told to forgive late fees?
You know, I don't know if they Yeah, it is a good question. I do know that if it's federally related, so federal student loan, federal mortgages and whatnot, that in the CARES Act, specifically in there is provisions that in essence, it's just like nothing's due, excuse me, nothing's due, no interest is accruing. Okay, it's just an ollie oxen free period of time. I would assume though you would have needed to ask for that to be implemented. Keep in mind though that CARES Act came out on the 27th of March, so fairly recent. So what I would do is get a hold of them. It could also just be that a computer is generating these fees and whatnot. So call somebody, tell them the circumstances, see if they'll waive it, probably will, and then put yourself on some forgiveness, not forgiveness, but maybe some kind of hold pattern so that they don't assess you the last time.
Elite Marketing Group. JJ, bless you for all the priceless information, brother. On another note, you have the dopest jackets. Absolutely.
Thank you. So Kitty O'Sullivan said, wait, I think you forgot about me. I submitted a few questions in comment section yesterday, YouTube live, but in the first hour, so didn't cover yesterday. Have we gotten to those? Do we have Kitty O'Sullivan?
And I thought that I did.
I remember seeing Kitty's name.
Yeah, I thought I read yours. I can go back and try to find it, or you can just re-ask us the question.
Kitty, re-ask us. I remember seeing it, and remember seeing your name, and I appreciate you're on a lot. Yeah, you're on a lot.
Okay. Yeah.
Now let's go ahead and block this person that's going to tell us the world's coming to the end. Best of luck to you, Leonardo.
Hi. Okay. For PPP, we start metal bum. For PPP, when we start the 2 months, can we furlough some lower paid staff so they can receive unemployment if $1,100 a week, then raise the wages of some of the staff to use up all the PPP funds?
It's a good question. Kimberly Roberts, are you from Oklahoma? The short answer is no. Raises won't count because what they're looking at, in essence, is they don't want this to be a way to expand your business or find ways to even give a raise to yourself. And so what you have to look at is what was the compensation you're paying to these employees. That's kind of what you're stuck with, right? So if they were making $10 an hour, then that's what's going to be included in the loan forgiveness. You can replace that employee. I understand that may not really be possible, but you can replace them, and that count because it's going to be based on dollars. Only because I gave this inquiry to Kimberly Roberts because we just know a different one that's a client, and it's something that related to what we were talking about earlier. So FTE, full-time equivalent. So basically, you're taking if you have 5 employees, add up all the hours, divide it by 40, and that's going to give you your full-time equivalent.
Modern Automotive again. We are an auto repair shop. Our accountant has our tire recycling costs categorized as a utility, like trash pickup, I guess. Would this count as a utility cost for PPP forgiveness?
I don't think it will. I mean, when we as accountants and CPAs, when we're coming up with categories on the P&L, a lot of times that's just to help with management purposes, depending on how. But I know that garbage pickup in general, is a part of our utility bill here in Oklahoma, and I understand that you're talking about something a little more sophisticated there. So if it's not an exorbitant amount, if it's kind of de minimis and it's just part of another utility that you're paying, so like the garbage pickup here is paid to the city along with our water. So I think it would be included there. If it's a separate expense, I'm going to probably say no, but definitely know that we're going to get more definition of the forgiveness as things move along. So don't just assume a no. Wait and see. I don't think so, but let's put it in your back pocket and let's see if further explanation comes out.
Kitty O'Sullivan. By the way, I just love your name, Kitty.
Yes.
I just love it. If ER makes contribution to HSA, can that amount be included in PPP amount? I'm not talking about HSA contributions are withheld from EE paychecks, and then the ER remits them. I'm talking about if the ER makes HSA contributions at their own expense.
Wow, I love that question so much. I'm glad that she waved us down. Kitty, will you email me? Because I've not been asked that. I've not considered it. It's a genius question. I'm going to say off the cuff, yes, that should count. I've seen nowhere that it has been brought up. And the reason I say yes, it should count is that the law states employer or health benefits, including health insurance premiums. That is a health benefit, 100%. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Will you send me an email? Tell us your t-shirt size. We want to send you a t-shirt too. But JJ at jjthecpahelp.com. Thank you for that question. I'm going to just say yes, but I want to look into it. And I'm disappointed I hadn't thought about it because that is phenomenal. Now, I will tell you this. I don't have any clients that they pay that. They don't. And if they're paying it on themselves, it's down at the individual level. So none of my clients have missed out on anything there, but I hadn't included it in my videos. And so I'm going to have to do a big fat video, and I'm going to have to say, thanks to, we'll just call her KO. But anyways, thank you for that. I'm going to say yes, but if you'll send me an email, and if Kitty O'Sullivan's not in your email, say in the regarding line, say, hey, I'm the genius that asked you the question about the HSA.
Marcia Cordry. I'm an independent contractor for a travel company. I get a 1099 and I don't write myself a check. I cash the checks and pay the credit card that I use for a business. PPP or EIDL?
Sole proprietor, right? Independent. If you got a 1099, it's going to be based on that 1099 independent contractor. I'd go with PPP, give them the 1099, check the box independent contractor. And what I hear you saying is you're just using it to pay credit card, as in your personal credit card. So if you're not filing a Schedule C and you're reporting that income, then you would go with the 1099.
Robert at Philadelphia Salon.
All right. Hey.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
JJ for President or Secretary of Department of Treasury. We'll never be able to thank you enough. We got approved today. No questions asked.
Yes.
You had me so over-prepared, I think I talked the bank.
All right. Well, you have been wearing and carrying that stress for all of your employees like a wonderful business owner that you are. And I'm so relieved for you. I'm excited for you. We have had comments back when I could keep up with comments. And so you've been watching for a long time. So I really appreciate it. Thank you for all your support. And I would say I thought of you on this if you've been watching, if you haven't been watching. But would you go to jjthecpahelp.com, please? jjthecpahelp.com. Go to the page show. And I want you to listen to that video. And if you think it's something that's a fit for you and your salons, we'll be seeing you soon.
Kitty O'Sullivan.
Congratulations.
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 TP had and still has a full-time W-2 job and also had a side job as a Schedule C. Can they apply for EIDL and PPP based on the side job, even though they still have a full-time job? Yeah,
I love it. Thank you, Metal Bum. I love it. New hires count, and you do have to replace everybody. Now, on the side hustle, the gig, the independent contractor, the self-employed, the sole proprietor, it is A-okay if you have another job, full-time or not, if you have other wages. You bet, George. Thank you. If that Schedule C, has net income, I tell you this right now, if you take the net divided by 12 times 2.5, and it's more than $1,000, based on what I know on April 10th, I would go PPP route, because right now no one's getting any word back on the EIDL. People that applied the last 3 weeks are getting nothing back. No confirmation, no money, no correspondence. My understanding is that potentially, unfortunately, which would be disaster, bless their hearts at the SBA, if there was a true loss of applications, I wish they would just, if they did, let everybody know so people can just reapply. But what we heard on Tuesday, in the details of looking throughout the internet, Massachusetts said that the SBA EIDL will be $1,000 per employee. Well, you as a self-employed, you're one employee, so you may only get $1,000 out of the EIDL. So that's why I think if you're going to get more than 1,000, try the PPP. If you're not getting anywhere with the PPP and you're going to get hassles, then try the EIDL. So I know it's not a really clean answer, but more I'm trying to give you an answer based on the dollar amount. And also right now, with the PPP, get your money from that. If that exhausts itself, then you can go do the EIDL, but they want you to do the PPP before the EIDL under current conditions.
Elizabeth Hannah, So LLC for 2019, do you have to take all your expenses or all your deductions in 2019, or can I roll something into the New Year's taxes?
Yeah, so we're talking here about, do you have to take all your deductions in 19? Okay. So I'm going to answer this carefully. Is this person listening right now? Who is it?
Elizabeth Hannon.
Elizabeth, are you on right now? Because I'm not going to answer the question if you're not. All right. Well, sorry you're not on, Elizabeth. If Elizabeth comes back on, we'll answer it.
All right, John Stafford. JJ, do you limit the net earnings of a Schedule C single member LLC disregarded entity to $100,000, similar to an individual employee's wages? Yeah,
you do, the net. But be sure you're adding to it, though, if you've put an amount on Schedule 1, line 15 or 16, which is the self-employed health insurance and then also the retirement benefit, it'd be the 100 plus those two amounts.
Grace Richardson, I have a 1099 for independent contractor. I don't have a 1099 for sole proprietor. Clients pay me directly. Can I still apply for the sole proprietorship because I do claim it on taxes?
Yeah, absolutely. And so what I would say on this is, if you were a client of mine, we would have had the 1099 that was separate from your sole proprietor, listed as other income. Just picked up, and it'd be subject to self-employment tax. And then on your sole proprietor, that'd be on a Schedule C. And then you would have, in essence, the net related to that. So when you go to apply, if I'm you, you're going to have to pick one. The one I would pick is sole proprietor, because you have a glaring Schedule C in there. But what you're going to do is you're going to take your net Schedule C, but then you're going to add the 1099 that you get from your independent contractor income. So take the net of the Schedule C, the gross of the independent contractor, add those together, divided by 12 times 2.5 would be what you would apply for. If you have self-employed health insurance premium, if you had self-employed retirement that you put in, you can add that in addition to that. But let me just tell you this. There's no strategy to any of that, because really what this comes down to is, if you went to Schedule SE, you're going to find the amount that you paid self-employment tax on is the net from Schedule C and your 1099. The amount that you paid tax on is those two things. The only reason I'm even telling you to combine it the way that I am is that's how the bank would want to see it. The bank would say, here's my Schedule C, here's my 1099s. I'm adding the net and the gross, and the only reason it's the gross is that you're not taking any expenses against it. So there's no strategy of, well, should I call myself an independent contractor or not? This is just how it would flow on your tax return, but then that's how you'd want to present it to the bank.
Rusty Shackelford, if your April 2019 to April 2020 is higher than just the 2019 tax return, can you do a P&L statement as a supplement to the reasoning on the amount of payroll?
Just read it to me one more time.
If your April 2019 to April 20 is higher than just the 2019 tax return, then you do a P&L statement as a supplement to the reasoning on the amount of payroll.
Boom, absolutely. And it's acceptable. And according to the law, that's really how it should be. It's really supposed to be the last 12 months, period, the end. So yeah, if you can show the last 12, and the reason why is that is what it should be based on. So go with the last 12 for sure. Thank you, Metal Bum. I appreciate it. And Grace, thank you. Okay, thank you, Juan. We'll see ya. Miami Beach Luxury Real Estate.
Marla Sabater, what happens if the payroll ran until February 26th, but because of this program, we brought the employees back? Which number is used for PPP? What we pay now or what we paid until February 26th?
So it's going to be whatever you paid in the last 12 months. So if there was no payroll from February 26th through March 31st, my reasoning, my thought process would be it's the last 12 months, but divided by 11, because you're only including 11 months there. The bank may still require you to do the 12. That's an unprecedented waters there. But I will say this. You're basing it on the past. You're not going to be able to base it on what you're doing now, because what is clear in the law is it's the last 12 months. So if you're applying now, and I'm assuming you just didn't have payroll in March, it is the last 12 months. What I would do is disclose to your bank that this is what you're doing. You're saying, hey, I'm including this. It's 11 months, so I've taken it divided by 11 to arrive at that. So you bet, Kimberly.
Brick Lit. Tune in tomorrow at 4 p.m. Central Time, and JJ will be doing a live video for Uber, Lyft, as well as the salon industry. So bring back your questions tomorrow, and we'll knock that out.
And let your friends know. Let your friends know.
Let all your friends know.
Yeah. So the way we're doing it tomorrow is when we go live, we're tackling the questions that come up, and we're really trying to say, if you're in the Lyft and you're in the Uber, or you're in the salon, or you're in the nail industry, etc., get on, because we want to try and go live with those questions. Boom, 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 boom. So it's going to be more rapid fire. Thank you, Grace. But then we want to try and tackle the others. So I'm trying to, for whatever reason, we're just getting a lot of questions from that industry, and I thought maybe we could tag it that way. So.
San Diego Laundromats.com. JJ, you're great. The service you provide is amazing. I asked a question last night. I own 5 businesses, also proprietor, 1 construction company with 2 employees, 4 laundromats with no employees. I file 5 Schedule Cs. I have a large depreciation on all 4 stores due to major renovations that we have done in the last few years. I haven't filed 2019 taxes. I went to the bank today, and they said just to submit my 2019 P&Ls for all 5 businesses. Also, they only wanted my 2020 first quarter 941 for my employee.
Okay. So I do think when I've read about circumstances where you have the multi-sole proprietor, that you would, in essence, do what the bank had said. I know they're saying they want P&L, but I think it's because you said the tax return wasn't done, right? Okay. So the reason they're going with the P&L is because the tax return's not done. And with that P&L, that's an advantage to you, because is this person on right now?
Yeah, they just.
Oh, okay.
They just asked.
Oh, okay, okay.
He said I applied for the EIDL before the PPP came out. They didn't have any answer about how to stop that application.
Okay. It's on San Diego Laundromats.
Yeah,
okay.
He should be common.
Yeah. Okay. So anyways, the advantage of doing a P&L is that it's not going to include the depreciation. Follow? I hope you understand what I'm saying to you. And then as it relates to the payroll, though, I know they just wanted the first quarter. Go ahead and get them. I still would just get the last 12 months of the payroll. In fact, I get all 5 quarters. And the reason why is that we're finding that banks that don't ask for the payroll info, they come back later asking for it. Every single one of them. It's like, oh, no, we don't. And then they come like, oh, we need this. And then it's delayed. So give them the payroll info on the different entities. The only thing is, I know you're saying you're filing separate Schedule Cs, which is smart and the way it should be done. But if any of those Schedule Cs you have an ID number for, okay, then in my opinion, now get your bank's opinion, because they're the ones that, you know, it's all going to come out the same for you. But if you have a federal ID number, even though it's on a sole proprietorship, the way I interpret it is that you would be applying under that ID number, okay, and then more importantly, the employees of that ID number. So if of your 5 businesses, if one had an ID number, and one of them had employees, and then the rest was under your Social Security number with no employees on any of those, then I would think you would do 2 PPPs. One that would be the business that is the ID number with its employees, wages and all that good stuff. And then the other is the 4 entities, but just combined. Now know this, I'm sure you're already doing this. But what I want you to make sure is that, you know, if you have employees, and I have a video on it that's called Employees Plus Sole Proprietor, Employees Plus Sole Proprietor, and it has a big question mark and has a plus mark. Be a good video to watch. But you get to include is your wages that you're paying divided by 12 times 2.5 plus all those costs, and your net from these 5 businesses, okay, plus line 15 and 16 on Schedule 1. Add that all together, divided by 12 times 2.5. You're going to get both those numbers. So hopefully that helps.
All right, so
we're going to wrap up here.
We are done now.
Okay.
We've been here for 3 hours. So if there
Boom.
were any questions that were missed, we will answer your questions. But do appreciate you guys tremendously. Thank you for all the thumbs up. Thank you for all the familiar names. Thank you to everybody who has subscribed. If you haven't, please do so. Share this video with your friends. Tell all of your Ubers and your Lyft drivers and your salons to come here tomorrow at 4 p.m. Central, and we hope you guys have a wonderful Friday night.
Yeah, thank you so much. And the email is jj@jjthecpahelp.com. And so thanks for everybody for coming in. Dark Waters and Joy and Scott and Brian. San Diego Laundromats, hopefully that helped. Oh, there's Kenda. That's the same Kenda, right? Where? The CPA?
Yeah.
Kenda, what was it, 1 hour in?
1 hour in. I emailed her back.
Oh, okay. If you don't have wages reported by your S-Corp, you won't qualify for PPP. Okay, that's what I thought too, Kenda. So San Diego, Joy, Kitty, Kathleen, Modern Automotive, boom, thank you. Let's see, Sarah K, appreciate you. Blair, let's see, Joy, Scott, Brian, Darren, thank you, appreciate that. What did the fish say when he swam into a wall? What did the fish say when he swam into the wall? I don't know. What did the fish say, Kitty? All right, TNT, Metal Bum, thank you. I really appreciate it. Absolutely. What do you do? What's your business? Metal Bum. I can't see your logo, but what's your business? Aaron Jackson. It's about how you paid yourself. Yeah, your net income. Okay. Joy, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Nancy, you too. Fred. They do qualify. Just reported on Schedule C. Okay, Kitty. Oh, damn. Yeah. I got it. I got you. Okay. Wait, let's see if maybe Metal Bum already jumped off. Metal Bum's been on before, so we need we need to figure out what they do. So, Blair, not taxable. The fish said, "Oh damn." Yeah. Oh damn. All right, Dax. Let's see. From one down-to-earth CPA to another. Thank you, my friend. You bet. I'm glad you consider me a down-to-earth CPA. I appreciate that. Let's see. Leonardo needs mental help. That's right. Not JJ. Leonardo was one of the trolls that came on. So JJ and Amanda, thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you guys.
Let's see. Arufo, yeah.
All right, you guys have a good
Best jacket shirt
weekend.
combo. So much. Hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow or Sunday or Monday. Y'all, thank you so much. Thank you. The new.